The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751, Chapter 750, Refreshed Record. Treating. Drake never minds treating. It is better to say that she is very keen on this activity, but the problem is that she is a daydreamer. If she has savings in her hands, she will not be her. In order to reward her for finding the slate and effectively improve her quality of life, the exclusive minimum living security card was launched, but this did not change her living habits. Although her quality of life has improved, she did not feel that happiness. To this day, she is still the person with the most debt in Onigashima, living a special life of paying back money at the beginning of the month and borrowing money in the middle of the month. Drake can often be seen treating guests in Onigashima and Wano country, but it is not certain who the money belongs to when she is the one treating. Although she must repay what she borrows, every time she borrows money, she will still receive special greetings from her companions. Borrowing money to treat a meal is a pity. You've improved your ranking this time. Why not use the bonus? Well, I use the bonus to make a promise to Brother Jin, so that part is considered to be paid back to Brother Jin in advance. And for me, isn't this a very normal thing? Let me see who I should borrow from next. Drake took out his account book, which not only recorded his debt experience, but also marked several people with numbers. After all, it's not good to borrow money from the same person continuously, so Drake has been taking turns. Oh, Babanuki, it's almost your turn. Lend me your private money. Kajiro seems to have opened a new tavern. I'll treat you to experience it when I go back. Forget it, you should change this habit. I'll treat you this time. It's just in time to introduce you to my daughter. Manfesh on the side took over the topic. He and Drake have completely different values, and he has been trying to persuade the other to save some money. No, that's meaningless. If you are in the mood, I will lend it to you. I will apply for a duty next month and go to the Navy to exchange some money. It sounds ridiculous for a pirate to go to the Navy to exchange money, but it is a real fact. The Navy will not investigate how this wanted criminal was caught. Find a pirate you don't like, and then find a middleman to send it to the Navy branch, and the bounty is basically in hand. Ordinary pirates can only get 80% of the money by going to middlemen in this way, but 100 Beasts has its own channels. 95% of the bounty can be obtained. The Navy and the world government naturally know the things behind this, but they have been letting this happen. For them, the internal fighting of pirates is a good thing. Even if the pirates use the bounty as a capital to show off, they don't mind it at all, and they will even deliberately raise the bounty of some second in command of the pirate group to cause internal fighting on the other side. Manfesh felt that he couldn't keep up with the thinking of young people. These values made him very confused. Okay, brother Manfesh, you're not often on Ghost Island. This guy is like this. If he really saved the money that day, it would be abnormal. As Drake's best friend, and also the biggest creditor, Emmeline knows Drake's character too well. If she hadn't been good at fighting, she would have been sold out long ago. No matter who pays the bill this time, Drake will charge it to her. Compared with those who refuse to pay their debts every day, her character is already quite good. That's right, you already have a daughter, how can it be your turn to treat us? But then again, there shouldn't be many games left, right? Well, Scourge and Hold'em haven't finished yet. When they're done, the change of positions will be almost over. Scourge is really holding on for a long time. After all, Xiaope is still young. It will be different if we wait a few more years. In the competition venue, an alternative air battle is going on. As a cyborg, Scourge is now suspended in the air like an alien UFO. After subsequent efforts, he successfully evolved into Magneto with the help of the magnetic field environment created by Arceus. His appearance after the transformation has not changed much, except that he has a strange antenna on his head that can receive some special electromagnetic waves. Sometimes he can intercept some of the voice signals of Dendenmushi like a bug. In the competition venue, he can also use the cheating ability, because the signal of Rotom broadcasting the game scene will also be captured by him, so he can have some special god's perspective. However, the person who challenged him was Peggy 1. Other things were fine. In terms of ability, Garchomp had him tightly controlled. The strongest electromagnetic cannon could not cause any damage to Peggy 1. Because he was a cyborg, his domineering and physical skills were the worst among the top ranked ones. When lightning was restrained, he could only rely on the weapons equipped on the cyborg. Da-da-da. Boom. Archaeology is the first productive force of science and technology. O'Hara's library records countless ancient technologies. Quinn does not have the ability of Vegapunk to load the knowledge of the entire library into his brain, but he has also found some technologies about human body transformation. Scourge's weapons have also undergone several generations of upgrades, from the initial 3-wheeled musket to the current Gatling. At the same time, it is also equipped with a small laser cannon. Together with his own abilities, Scourge has completely become an extremely powerful aerial turret. But now this turret has encountered a heavy jet fighter that is immune to lightning. The battle between the two was long and boring. In short, Scourge was suppressing Page 1 with long-range firepower, not giving him a chance to get close. Garchomp could fly, but the ground was his main battlefield. He was much worse off when he was off the ground than on the ground, and when he was flying in the sky, he couldn't use earthquakes or digging holes. Although his dragon-type skills were equally powerful, Page 1 was still young. As a physical monster of the same animal type, his physical strength was not as good as those of adults, and his combat experience was much worse, so he was trapped by Scourge's firepower. However, Scourge's ammunition was limited. After a few empty clicks, his weapon instantly misfired. In the past, he was stationed on the islands on the edge of the beast's territory, with his own exclusive ammunition depot, and he never worried about running out of bullets. He was used to spending lavishly, but when he got to the arena, he fell into trouble. After evading for a while, he was eventually caught up by Page 1, who ended the battle with Flame Fang, and Page 1 also broke the record of single-digit number players. He surpassed it soon as original record and became the youngest person with a single-digit number at the age of 13. Chapter 752. Veterans leave, newcomers appear. Scourge was also the only one who did not come to the medical center after the defeat. He was a cyborg, and a large part of his body was mechanical. Even if the ordinary Pokemon ability users were steel type, after the metal body was damaged, they would stay on the main body when the ability was removed. But Scourge was different. The damage to the mechanized body was very special. Page 1's Flame Fang broke his parts, which was beyond the scope of the medical center. He had to go to the weapon repair station. As for Page 1, Garchomp's scales had a high defense power. Although he did not have a steel body, those tiny scales also formed a structure like fish scales, providing a strong defense for the main body. But defense has a limit. After Scourge's ammunition depot was used up, Page 1 was also slightly injured. He only came here to adjust himself on a daily basis. It was a pity that Garchomp's skill set did not include Dragon Dance, otherwise Garchomp would be able to use a stronger force. Congratulations, Peggy, you've already defeated Scourge. Yeah, you're really amazing to have achieved this at this age. Most of the people present were veterans of the beasts. When Page 1 was picked up by Kaido, they were already members of the beasts. It can be said that they watched the siblings grow up. The little brat grew up to become a cadre of the pirates, which is something worth celebrating. Thanks to the power of Lord Arceus. Where is my sister? Page 1 looked around the ward and didn't see the seriously injured Ulti. This serious injury was judged by himself. In his opinion, Ulti's character could not retreat without injury in such a battle. It was already very good to have broken her hands and feet. After all, his sister was the most stubborn among the beasts, even comparable to Jack. Ulti hasn't finished yet. To be precise, it just started not long ago. The venue was occupied before, and it has just been vacated. Mandafesh pointed to the Rotom screen of the medical station. The battle between Ulti and Hold'em had just started not long ago, but it went straight into a white-hot stage. At the same time, it confirmed Page 1's impression that Ulti's fighting style was still as simple as before. Facing the jets of flames used by Hold'em's Fire Lion, Ulti used the most straightforward fighting method and rushed head on. With the blessing of Dragon Dance, she relied on her sharp axe teeth and sprinting speed to carve out a path in the raging fire. Facing the enemy's attack, Page 1's choice was to evade first, so she fought with Scourge for a long time, until the opponent's ammunition was exhausted. In a very safe situation, she chose to attack. But Ulti's choice was completely different. After she judged that she could handle the opponent's attack, she rushed forward head on. The pair of axe teeth of the double-axed dragon are the most reliable weapons for it, just like the hammer of the giant forger and the head knife of the split commander. Under Arceus's transformation, Ulti's double-axed dragon can temporarily take off the axe teeth and equip them on the outside of both arms to form two arm axes. Bang! The axe blade hit the ground. Looking at Ulti's strength and speed, Hold'em felt something was wrong. Ulti was completely different from the beginning. At the beginning, Ulti was not so violent. She just blocked his jet of flames, but as she blocked, she began to close the distance between them, as if she had awakened. Transforming into a beast, Hold'em swept his tail, and a series of golden stars were swept towards Ulti. This time there was no flame blocking his vision, and he finally saw what was happening. When Ulti used her axe to split the incoming stars, a layer of purple light flashed on the surface of her body. Is that Dragon Dance? Have you learned that move from brother Kaido? Ordinary people need to twist on the spot to release Dragon Dance, but Kaido has already integrated Dragon Dance into his combat skills after years of fighting. Dragon Dance Bagua is a skill specifically extended for this purpose. Ulti's move just now was almost a replica of Kaido's. She used the bonus of Dragon Dance to perform special defense and learned Kaido's attack instead of defense. Is this difficult? It's not complicated. Don't talk nonsense. I want to decide your position. I don't want to be behind Ziope. Ulti will lead the way. She is very talented in this aspect. It didn't take long for her to master this matter and transform it into her own fighting style. It's easy to say, but it's not so easy for the body to bear. She is 2 years older than Peggy 1, but she is only 15 years old. Kaido can withstand the increase of Dragon Dance for a long time, but she can't. If this state lasts too long, she will be the first to be unable to bear it. This is also the root cause of her abnormally violent fighting. She stacks Dragon Dance while evading, and then launches a surprise attack. During the duration of the enhancement, she quickly defeats her enemies. She is going into completely different directions from Peggy 1. Looking at the aggressive Ulti, Hold'em's expression was very ugly. He thought he had successfully consumed the opponent at the beginning, but in the end, he gave her time to stack the buff. Although he dodged the attack, the speed of Dragon Dance made it impossible for him to completely get rid of Ulti. At this time, Axe Fang had returned to its original position. Ulti, who also entered the beast form, jumped high, and her axe fang flashed a deadly cold light. Ulti slash. The lower limbs of the double axe war dragon transformed from the swollen-headed dragon were more developed, which made Ulti's lower body more stable. The sharp axe fang further increased her attack power, not to mention that in the previous battle, she stacked Dragon Dance to 4 layers. With Axe Fang leaving a huge scar on Hold'em's abdomen, the replacement battle of the beasts finally came to an end. After some minor adjustments, the new generation of numberers have stepped onto the stage of the beasts. No 0 Setsuna Lucario, no 1 Mendel Fesh Gyarados, no 2 Jack King Bronze Elephant, no 3 Black Mariah Electric Spider, no 4 Francis Drake Ronchin Cat, no 5 Sasuke Fortress Guardian, no 6 Fozef Sabertooth. No 7 Iska Giant Mantis, no 8 Ulti Double Axe War Dragon, no 9 Page 1 Greek Shark. Fozef became the only gifter in the crowd. If the 3 people behind him were not young, he might not be able to completely defeat them. The original No 10 No 9 basically replaced the positions of No 10 No 19, and many people's rankings were just backward. But this battle is not over yet. Among the beasts, the most unstable is not a certain member, but Kaido himself. The fighting of his subordinates ignited his fighting spirit. When Tutu Dog was renumbering people one by one, Kaido suddenly jumped down from the air with his bare hands and took Quinn's microphone halfway. Guys. Great job. No matter whether you are a man or a woman, no matter your age, as long as you have the strength, you can get everything here. Let's take this opportunity to play a game. You can all come together, and as long as someone can knock me to the ground, I will fulfill that person's wish. Chapter 753 Kaido in the atmosphere. It's not scientific, Godfather. This is not scientific. We should ask Dad to find a doctor to check his brain. What's wrong? Don't you think what Dad did is not normal? He shouldn't do this under normal circumstances. When she heard Kaido say that, she was actually shocked. According to Kaido's past habits, he would probably throw her down, and then give others exaggerated rewards, and said that they would either beat her, or practice with him. Under such coercion and inducement, she would inevitably encounter a new torture. There were no big carders present. Setsuna and Mandafesh could burst out with disaster level combat power, but their status was already very high, and Kaido's threats would not involve them. As for Quinn, she couldn't do anything that had a big impact in this environment, but such a large group of people with abilities was enough to torment her. This time Kaido actually did the opposite. Not only did he not torture her, he also jumped down himself. Over the years, when has your father's mind ever been normal? Would a normal person get drunk in the Navy branch and then sleep directly in the Navy base? Huh. Has he done this before? How come I don't know? It happened a long time ago, probably near Shampoo Land. Anyway, we hadn't entered the new world at that time, and you hadn't been born yet. If this incident doesn't count, what you know is enough to explain everything, right? That being said, I still think there is a problem. He must have a conspiracy. Yamato knew that Kaido's brain circuit was different from that of normal people. She was not surprised that Kaido would get drunk at the naval base, nor was she surprised that Kaido would go down to look for a fight. Itchy hands and nothing to do. These reasons are enough. What she was surprised about was that Kaido didn't put any strange pressure on her. In just a few minutes, she had already imagined dozens of things Kaido might do, but it was not clear what Kaido was thinking. In this regard, he always surprises people. By the way, Godfather, were your previous adventures interesting? Not bad. Many of the elders now came from that time. Mandafesh, Babanuki, Setsuna when he was a child, and Olga and Elizabeth in the seeking category. Aren't you not interested? Why did I think of it again? It's not that I'm not interested, it's just that it would be boring to know in advance. The ocean is so big, and I want to see those mysterious places by myself. Adventure is one of the themes of her life. Unless she is performing some special tasks, she will not look at the detailed information of the island, but will explore it by herself. The independent islands have generated countless natural landforms and customs. These mysteries have attracted those orthodox adventurers, and Yamato is one of them. But I think something is wrong with my father this time, so I want to analyze his previous living habits. Maybe I can see through his conspiracy. This is a long story, I'll tell you slowly. While Yamato was discussing the past, the battle below had already begun. Under the coercion and inducement of Kaido, he started a new round of mutual fighting by taking advantage of the remaining venue. He wrote a blank check and was very confident in doing so, without worrying that the wish was beyond his ability. Because he was confident that no one could defeat him as long as the conditions could not be met, then naturally there was no need to cash in the reward. And Arceus added an additional condition. Time will end when the stone pillar falls back to the ground. After the island is restored to its original state, this event will end here. The lucky draw event must have a time limit, otherwise, if Kaido really gets too excited, it might take a long time. As for Yamato's worry, it's not unreasonable, but she was thinking in the wrong direction. Kaido didn't plan to train her body this time. This level of fighting was meaningless to her. If she wanted to make further breakthroughs, at least the disaster level carders had to show their best skills. And he had already discovered that Yamato was always on guard against him, and she often used her brain to think about countermeasures. Since she liked to think, let her think more. Kaido deliberately did something that Yamato felt was abnormal, but in fact, he didn't intend to do anything. Compared with the slap that had already fallen, the one hanging in the air could bring more tension to people. As long as Kaido did nothing, he could keep Yamato in a state of tension, thus achieving another level of training. Before she discovered the essence of this matter, it would be difficult for her to relax. As for Kaido himself, he had already expanded the scope of his activities to the entire island. Not only the numbered people, but anyone who came to this island could participate in the activities to defeat him. In this process, he was experiencing the fun of fighting, and at the same time, he was also examining these younger brothers. There is only one reward, that is, only those who finally defeat him can get the reward. There is no PM to distribute the spoils here. If you want to snatch the last drop of blood of the boss, you have to be careful of your companions. When he deliberately revealed some flaws, some people really dragged their companions down. This is a kind of negative thinking of human beings. You can't get what I can't get, and such people will drop several levels in Kaido's heart. He does not oppose in fighting, and even supports it. After all, Kaido believes that force is what determines value. If a person is strong enough, he is qualified to occupy more resources. But this premise is to get rid of the enemy first. If they have already defeated themselves, it is acceptable to do so, but if they can't even tell the strength of the enemy, they will stop here. Such people have no room for growth. The big cadres and higher level cadres have been finalized, and the new generation has almost grown up. Now Kaido is selecting suitable grassroots cadres, but in the eyes of outsiders, Kaido's situation is very special. Since the island was raised by Arceus, the surveillance ship could not monitor the detailed situation. Although the Navy has popularized some flying dragons, due to the cost, Sengoku is currently equipping some branches in the new world with dragons. After the equipment, they found out how convenient aerial reconnaissance is. However, these surveillance ships are not qualified to be equipped with those expensive dragons. The cost of 3 warships cannot be lost. Therefore, the Navy is asking Vegapunk to manufacture some small, more affordable ordinary creatures, so that they can be equipped on warships for daily reconnaissance activities. This is the Navy's 178th surveillance ship. The latest intelligence is that the Beast's pirates are suspected of rebellion, and Kaido is fighting with the pirates under his command. Of course, this kind of information will only allow the headquarters to remark the composition of the pirate group, and will not cause large-scale operations. Chapter 754, The Beginning of the Four Emperors Era. Whether it is the Sea Emperor or the 7 Warlords of the Sea, they are all pirates. The only difference is strength. For the group of pirates, betrayal is the norm. Even some affiliated forces that have joined the Sea Emperor have different purposes. As long as the opportunity is right, they will not hesitate to launch a rebellion. Of course, since the beginning of the Great Pirate Era, the Sea Emperor has ruled the sea, and none of the rebellious pirates have succeeded. Charlotte Linlin, Edward Newgate, Kaido, they all used blood to tell others the consequences. Betrayal is common, but you have to pay the consequences. There is no doubt about the result of the battle. The stronger the person, the more he knows how big the gap between him and Kaido is, and the more he is slacking off. So Kaido returned to Onigashima with a large number of people after just a fight. A grand banquet has been prepared. If you are unhappy, you have to have a banquet to be happy, and if you are happy, you have to have a banquet to celebrate. If you win a battle, you have to have a banquet to celebrate the victory, and if you lose, you have to have a banquet to boost morale. This is the group of pirates. Any reason, or no reason is needed, just because you want to, they can start a grand banquet. Newcomers have appeared, and a large number of grassroots cadres have gathered together. There is no need to find other reasons. Cheers. In Onigashima, the grand banquet has begun. Quinn has found the opportunity to show himself again. He is showing his dancing skills with his younger brother. Other pirates are also gathering in 2s and 3s according to their daily relationships. Brother Jack, congratulations, you are getting closer and closer to the disaster. Yes, as long as you defeat those 2 again, and get the recognition of Brother Kaido, you will be the new disaster. Jinrami and Sip's head flattered Jack on the side. Becoming Kaido's right-hand man has always been his pursuit, and in Jack's eyes, being a disaster cadre can meet this need. It is not particularly complicated to become a disaster. Either replace the original disaster, or let Kaido recognize his own strength, and add a new disaster position. But these are not so easy and require strength. Well, you two should also train hard. If you are so weak, how can you be my subordinates? The 2 fruits belong to you. Don't waste the power of the elephant. Even though the 2 of them were flattering him, Jack didn't seem very happy. He just distributed the ordinary elephant and ancient mammoth fruits to them. This was enough for them, but in the next moment, Jack showed what it meant to change his face. His originally cold face had a hint of tenderness because his frost milk fairy had already jumped over. Behind it were Meowana and Wolf, as well as Manfish with his daughter and wife. Brother Manfish, congratulations on having a daughter. Jack lowered his arms and let the frost milk fairy climb onto his shoulders. After drinking the wine in his hand, he gestured to Manfish. Originally, Rusaka and Setsuna were discussing some parenting experiences, but as they talked, Setsuna found that there was nothing to say. The situation of Meowana and Wolf would probably not be replicated on the Half Merman, so there was no reference at all. Well, we'll go there first. If you're interested, come over later. It's the new store that Kojiro opened. Okay, I see. People have different habits. Manfish used to like this kind of lively environment, but this time he brought his daughter with him, so he wanted to find a slightly quieter place. Strictly speaking, that place is a private branch venue, and only carders are qualified to enter. As for the cost, it was Drake who invited the guests, but it's not certain who borrowed the money. According to normal habits, it is a rule that guests don't bring guests, but Jack is different. Drake meant to call all old acquaintances over. After the initial celebration, the carders left one after another, leaving the place to ordinary subordinates. You can still see many Pokémon. At this time, a drunk was being fooled around by the Wind Fairy and didn't know where he was. Outside the Ghost Island, they also saw many Steel-type Pokémon, such as the Giant Forge and the Slashing Commander who gathered together. They looked at each other, and it was unknown what they were thinking. This is the branch venue of the Steel Pokémon. Due to the problem of Steel, they are not allowed to enter the Ghost Island unless there are special circumstances, so they gathered outside. When Manfish and the others arrived at the agreed place, they saw Yamato and Ulti who were drinking, and Page 1 who was forcibly pulled by Ulti. You guys are finally here. Are you not drunk? I'll treat you today. Drink as much as you want. As she said that, she picked up a different bottle and started drinking with the people next to her. This is her special supply. If you say she is thrifty, she will go into debt to treat guests. If you say she is wasteful, she did not forget to use her minimum living security card at this time and slightly reduced some debts in this way. Almost all the current top 10 numberers and the old top 10 numberers are here, and they also include all kinds of people from all beasts. The diligent model worker, the representative of the social animal, the Duke of Zhao who doesn't want to take office, the quiet fisherman, the extremely irritable iron-head girl, and the idealistic righteous people. The old sister who is in debt every day, the cyborg who misses the past when she looks at the lost single digits, and the former agent who tries to integrate into the crowd. They had different goals, but they finally gathered under the same pirate flag. Even if there might be some minor frictions between them, they were working towards a common goal. By the way, where's Sasuke? Didn't he come? This was almost a team building for the carders. The absence of Sasuke at this time made Manfish feel a little strange. If there was no big conflict, he still had to give him some face. He is here, but he just went back to Rabbit Bowl to move some wine. He said that he brewed a lot of good wine some time ago and wanted to share it with us. And he seemed to be planning to share something with the boss Kadora in the mine, so he was delayed. Pokémon have different personalities. Everyone has a few Pokémon that they are on good terms with, and they may also have strange habits. For example, Drake often asks some Pokémon if they can gather treasures, hoping to get some extra wealth. After the banquet, a large number of carders began to return to their original territories, and time passed silently. The Battle of Replacement of the Beasts took place at the end of the year. When the big carders of the beasts returned, the time had come to 1516. During this time, a great event also happened on the sea. Red-haired Shanks finally established his reputation as the Emperor of the Sea. The new world once again had an unshakable monster. The era of Red-haired, Beast, Big Mom, and Whitebird, the four emperors, has arrived. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755. 4 Emperors, Navy, and 7 Warlords of the Sea. Bang! A loud noise came from the office of the Navy headquarters. Sengoku rubbed his forehead while looking at the newspaper in his hand. These guys are really restless. They made such a big noise again. And Morgan's, will it cost him his life if he says less of this kind of thing? Crackling. Does he know that the sea will become more turbulent like this? Crackling. If this continues. Crackling. Garp. Enough. I didn't ask you to come here to eat senbei. Put them down. Sengoku's patience seemed to have reached its limit. He snatched all the senbei in Garp's hand, tore open the bag, and poured them into his mouth. But the next moment, Garp took out another bag like a magic trick. Kakashi, it's useless to tell me. It's already happened. Are we going to arrest them all? You. He sometimes envied Garp's way of working without having to worry about anything and talking nonsense to those officials. He wanted to arrest all the pirates, but even if he ignored the issue of strength, the world government would not allow them to start a war easily. Forget it. Let's have a meeting first. There are quite a lot of things recently. We need to let everyone know the recent changes. Crane, is it okay for you to come? Don't we have Branny? Let him handle it first. I think he is quite talented in this area. Don't learn from that guy Garp. Zephyr is also like this now. You guys. Sengoku had no words to say, but he didn't stop him. Branny's words really had the ability to do this well. So after the call, the generals who were still in the headquarters began to gather. In addition to the 3 admirals, a large number of lieutenant generals and major generals of the headquarters gathered under the stage, waiting for Sengoku's instructions. The generals have special secretaries who will report to them in detail in private, and they don't need to participate in the meeting. Everyone, you should have heard about some recent events. Today we are not going to issue any combat missions, but to popularize the latest changes in the situation to everyone. Next, Branny will convey to you that you must remember what happened today. After all, this is a new change in the entire sea. Branny also took a stack of bounties and walked up to the podium. Looking at the crowd of people with higher ranks than him, he did not feel stage fright at all, but adjusted his dendenmushi to get ready. First of all, this is a pirate group that you are all familiar with, the Whitebeard Pirates, which has 16 squads and 43 affiliated pirate groups. The captain is Edward Newgate, known as the strongest man in the world, with a bounty of 5.046 billion berries. Today, the 15 captains of the Whitebeard Pirates are all very powerful pirates. As an old force, they are an extremely powerful force in the new world. After sliding the bounty, information about Whitebeard appeared on the projection screen one by one, introducing those powerful pirates. Secondly, it is said that she attacked the village of Elbaf, a giant tribe, when she was young. She is a natural monster who only believes in blood ties. Together with 85 children, she founded and ruled the kingdom of Totland, a cruel and dictatorial queen. The captain of the Big Mob Pirates, Charlotte Linlin, has a bounty of 3.8 billion berries. Every time Branny said a piece of information, the mouths of the navy below opened a little wider. The Emperor of the Sea itself was not something that these grassroots generals could deal with. They knew that there were many powerful pirates on the sea, but many people had no idea about the bounty, so they were shocked when they heard about the bounty. Also, they have won the respect of the pirates with their own strength, and they have a large number of powerful cadres and unknown biological weapons under their command. Now the actual ruler of Wano country, the destroyer of the kingdom of Zeke, the plunderer of the kingdom of Stantine, the governor of the beasts pirates, the strongest creature beasts Kaido, with a bounty of 4.677 billion berries. They have extremely powerful cadres under their command, all of whom are mythical beasts, Jin, Quinn, Olga, Shaina, Zerora, and no one below the vice admiral of the headquarters can tangle with them. At the same time, they have more than 100 numbered people, whose strength is determined by numbers. They are the pirate group with the largest number of people with abilities on the sea. In addition to their vice captain Arceus, and Kaido's daughter Yamato, although the two rarely show up, the strength of the beasts pirates may have made them the most powerful pirate group on the sea. After telling the information, Branny did not turn the page directly, but turned the previous part back. The most critical issue is that there are conflicts between the Big Mob pirates and the Beasts pirates, but they are also closely connected. There is a high probability that the two will form a pirate alliance, which is a point to pay attention to. Then Branny turned the page again, and a red-haired figure appeared on the projection cloth. And the last one, the destroyer of Elegia, the youngest of the four. Deeply trusted by his subordinates, with powerful carders such as Beckman, Lachi Lu, and Jesus Boo, the average bounty is the highest, the most balanced, and the Iron Wall pirate group without any weaknesses, the Red Hair Pirates. Its captain, Red Hair Shanks, the leader of the Red Hair Pirates, has a bounty of 3.6 billion baileys. The total bounty is undoubtedly higher for the Beasts pirates, but they also have the most carders. After averaging, it becomes less. These four are all called the Emperors of the Sea, and Morgans even calls them the Four Emperors. Everyone, more troublesome times may be coming. The bounties of the four people appeared on the screen at the same time, and then 7 special bounties appeared below. Amazon Lily King, Captain of the Nine Snakes Pirates, Pirate Empress, Boa Hancock, Captain of the Sun Pirates, Sea Knight Jinb, Captain of the Darn Quixote Pirates, Tanayasha, Darn Quixote Doflamingo, former Captain of the Gecko Pirates, current Captain of the Thriller Bark Pirates, Gecko Moria, the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye, Jirakamehawk, former King of the Solb Kingdom, Tyrant, Bartholomew Kuma. Together with King Sand Crocodile, the 7 warlords of the sea are ready. Although these people are pirates, they are also famous strongmen. They have all reached an agreement with the world government. To a certain extent, they are our allies. Although they are called the Four Emperors, they are not a monolithic entity. Everyone, for the justice in your hearts, please work together. They want to make other generals understand the situation in the sea, not to intimidate them. After telling the intelligence, the next work is not Brannu's responsibility. At the same time, people all over the world were paying attention to this news, and some people also showed incredible tacit understanding. In the East China Sea, Buggy held the newspaper with his eyes wide open, and on Onigashima, Alga pinched her face while looking at the newspaper. When they confirmed that this person was Shanks, and not someone with the same name, the two of them were surprisingly synchronized. How could Shanks / that red-haired kid become the Emperor of the Sea? Chapter 756. They are all red. Why is the difference so big? Not long ago, in the East China Sea, on an ordinary island, a group of pirates were sweating, holding shovels and pickaxes, and working hard to dig the rock below. Everyone, work hard. There must be treasures below. The location of the treasure map is correct. A man with a red nose was flying in the air, commanding his brothers below. Buggy the Clown, the captain of the Buggy Pirates, has a bounty of 10 million baileys. As a former intern of the Roger Pirates and a good brother of Red Hair Shanks, this number is not proportional to the 3.6 billion of red hair. No one would have thought that this man who was looking for treasure in the East China Sea had extremely powerful connections. Even White but remembered the extremely obvious red nose. His flight was different, because his body flying in the sky had no feet, and those 2 feet still stayed on the ground. This was Buggy's application of the fracture fruit, which could split himself into many pieces. Immune to the slash of sharp weapons, the effective control range of the ability is 200 meters with the feet as a radius. Beyond 200 meters, he will lose control of his body. Except for the feet, the rest of the body can fly. At this time, Buggy is flying in the sky as a supervisor. There are many pirates under his command, but the quality is poor. Compared with the pirate group, this place is more like a more vicious circus. Captain Buggy, it's too hard down here, I can't dig. Yes, Captain Buggy, there are stones down here. Are we looking in the wrong place? Huh? Do you suspect that I have read the treasure map wrong? Hurry up and dig for me. 2 hands broke away from the arms and grabbed the collar of the younger brother. Relying on the ability of the split fruit, Buggy is basically invincible in the East China Sea. As a professional treasure hunter, how could he read the treasure map wrong? It was at this time that a newsbird flapped its wings and flew over. Looking at Buggy in the sky, it flew directly with the newspaper. In the eyes of the newsbird, people like Buggy are definitely high quality customers, and they have learned to fly to the sky to get newspapers by themselves. Looking at the passing news bird, Buggy waved his hand to indicate that he also needed a newspaper. At this time, Buggy was also a relatively vicious pirate in the East China Sea, but except for those who were starving to death and tried to take emergency shelter, no one was willing to hurt the news bird. After putting the coin into the pocket of the news bird, Buggy browsed the recent news. Sometimes, some clues of treasure could be found in the newspaper. Then, he saw an unacceptable scene. The new Sea Emperor Red Hair Shanks, the era of the 4 emperors is here. The Navy will give nicknames to pirates, but will not give this group a new positioning. Roger's original title of Pirate King was because he arrived at Raftel and completed that feat. The 7 warlords of the sea are powerful pirates that the world government is looking for to balance the sea, so they need a majestic title. As for the original Sea Emperor and the current 4 emperors, this is the result of Morgan's hype for attention. Buggy would read the newspaper, but he would only look for interesting things. After all, he was also a person who had traveled all over the New World with Roger's pirate group, so he was not interested in ordinary things. Moreover, his relationship with Shanks was also complicated. In general, he hated the person who ruined his dream, so he didn't pay attention to the previous things until now. The 4 emperors. Shanks, that bastard, ruined my treasure hunting dream, and I have come to this point. Buggy was so angry that his cell wall separated. He really did this. He kept splitting and reorganizing in the sky, making all kinds of incomprehensible movements. The bounty order mixed in the newspaper also fell down, which stunned the younger brother below. Captain Buggy, are you okay? Is there anything special in today's news? 3.6 billion. So scary. Is this the monster of the Grand Line? But why is Captain Buggy so excited? Does he know this big shot? Mind your own business. Hurry up and dig out the treasure for me. Hearing that the people below actually called Shanks a big shot, Buggy's emotions were further ignited. With mixed emotions, Buggy also joined the excavation team and began to transform those mixed emotions into physical labor. With their unremitting efforts, they finally smashed a hole in the rock, and then some black liquid flowed out of it. Captain Buggy, a strange liquid is flowing out. It's not the gold you mentioned. How is that possible? The treasure map clearly says that there is gold flowing underneath. Bring the cannons over. Blast this place open directly. Let you see the power of the newly developed Buggy bomb. He didn't know the exact location before, but now he has clearly dug out the so-called treasure, but the result is black water, for no one knows what it is used for. He doesn't have the same opportunity as Shanks, so he plans to use these things to vent his anger. As for the result, you are worthy of being Captain Buggy. The power of the Buggy bomb is so strong. Yeah, the mountain was blown away. Don't take it for granted. A bunch of idiots. Think about how to land. The Buggy bomb, Buggy's special artillery ammunition, is extremely powerful, but this explosion was not just a problem with the Buggy bomb. Buggy had some problems translating the treasure map. It said liquid gold, and this liquid gold was not something that meant literally. The development of different islands in the sea is very different, from prehistoric civilization to future technology. Buggy's treasure map happens to be an island in the second industrial revolution period. For them, oil is no less valuable than gold. But Buggy did not find this problem, which led to the current situation. At the same time, in Onigashima, Olga's heart was also complicated when she saw Shanks, who had completely established the title of the Emperor of the Sea. These little ghosts are growing up so fast. Shanks had a great reputation before, but in this era of Roger's death, the 4 emperors were undoubtedly the pinnacle of pirates, not to mention that Kaido was also one of the 4 emperors. Seeing that Shanks had become a peer of her boss, she still had a lot of feelings. After all, he was just a defeated opponent of hers. Times have changed, Olga, and things are pretty good now. Yeah, but Elizabeth, haven't you heard any news about that red-nosed guy? Red Nose? He's the guy who follows that red-haired guy. That guy has become the Emperor of the Sea. His friends should be doing well too. It's strange. Why don't I have any impression of them? Pirates in the New World often need to supplement their intelligence and find out who is doing better recently, but no matter how hard she thought, she had no information about Buggy. Chapter 757 Big Mom's Dream Marriage. As long as he is stronger, he will always attract the attention of the New World pirates. Buggy seems to have disappeared from the face of the earth. For ordinary people, this is not a problem. He is just too weak. But the two were inseparable at the beginning. Now one has become the Emperor of the Sea, and the other should not be unknown. However, she did not delve into this issue and read the detailed report. Why do you want to try with him again? According to the rules of pirates, if you beat him, you will also be the Emperor of the Sea. No, now you should be called one of the 4 emperors. Morgan's newspaper is very influential. As a private news organization, it can ignore the decrees of the world government and publish those banned news. Although there are factors of indulgence from the world government, such as things that Rox wants to conceal, Morgan's can't find any news, but it can also reflect his uniqueness. The title of the Emperor of the Sea was spread by him. Maybe he felt that the 3 emperors were not nice. It was not until Shanks ascended the throne that the general name of the 4 emperors was proposed. Forget it, I don't want to ruin my 100% winning rate of 2 battles. This guy can do that even with an arm missing. He is really capable. There have been famous pirates in recent years, but no one has ever been called the Emperor of the Sea. Strength is one aspect, and record is another. The title was first mentioned because the kingdom of West K was destroyed. Morgan's touted Kaido as the Emperor of the Sea and cited 2 veteran pirates, Whitebird and Charlotte Linlin, as examples. According to outside intelligence, Shanks also made moves to destroy a country. He was the scapegoat for the destruction of Elegia, but at that time, he did not get this position. In discussion, this is related to the conflict he had on the sea a few days ago. During the period after the Battle of the Beasts, the Big Mom pirates clashed with the Red Hair pirates. The cause was that due to drought on an island, the fruit production was greatly reduced, and it was impossible to provide the Big Mom pirates with enough fruit as in previous years. Charlotte Linlin doesn't think about the reasons. If she can't get what she wants, she will be destroyed. But the people on this island met the Red Hair pirates by chance, so Shanks wanted to protect them, and it eventually turned into a battle for territory. Shanks and Charlotte Linlin had a big battle, which ended because of Charlotte Linlin's bulimia. He fought for several days without losing the upper hand, and stopped the Big Mom pirates with only one arm. This is one of the reasons why Shanks became the Emperor. Aren't you deceiving yourself? Humph, it's okay to tell others anyway. That guy lost to me twice, and he was in the situation of teaming up with others. She knew very well what it meant to be able to fight Big Mom for so long. She didn't have much ambition, and was content with the status quo. Even other people mostly sighed, and at the same time, many people wanted to challenge this new Sea Emperor. After all, his reputation was a little worse than that of the old Sea Emperor. However, those who didn't give Shanks face also had a bad life afterwards. Shanks was also a pirate. If they offended him, or attacked his territory, he would not show mercy. Gilila, has that kid come to this point? I'm really old. On the Moby Dick, the traces of time still appeared on Whitebird's body, and conditioning medicines have become a must-have on the ship. The medicine produced by the beast fruit is indeed effective, but Whitebird's health is not a problem that appeared overnight, and years of fighting have left him with no way to deal with it. Last time, it was Kaido who showed his powerful strength, and this time it was the kid who ascended to the throne. This made Whitebird sigh that he was really old. No, Dad, you are still in your prime. Yes, Dad, our voyage has just begun. Gilila, that's right, forget it, guys. Let's have a party. Shanks becoming the 4 emperors has nothing to do with them, but they still held a party for no reason. In the performing arts department of the beast fruit, Yuta's mood was also complicated. The status of the Red Hair pirates has risen, which means that she needs a greater reputation to become a singer worthy of this pirate group. In the Red Hair pirates, as the parties involved, they are drinking heartlessly, and there is also a confused Hawkeye at the scene. Ever since Shanks lost his left arm, he has lost interest in challenging the other party. This time he just passed by and visited this old friend. Unexpectedly, he was pulled directly into the party. As a successful person, it is normal for Shanks to hold a party, but in the kingdom of Totland, Charlotte Linlin was not angry either, but looked happy. Perispero, Katakuri, how are the preparations going? Mom, everything is ready. The invitations to the tea party have been sent out. We are just waiting for the guests to arrive. Well, very good. Such a Totland is a real 10,000 nations. In this way, the army of the world's strongest country can also be used by me. On the throne made of desserts, Charlotte Linlin is imagining the future. Her thinking is very different from that of normal people. What if the family cadres are not enough? Find a husband and have children. What if the family's future combat power is not enough? Find a new husband and continue to have children. Whitebird and Kaido's cadres are recruited from all over the world, but Charlotte Linlin is very special. She looks for husbands of different races from all over the world, then gives birth to children, and trains them as cadres. Or use them for marriage and train their other half. But 2 years ago, after giving birth to her last daughter, she hasn't been pregnant for a long time. The battle with Shanks was not pleasant. She did not lose, but at the cadre level, except for Katakuri, everyone else was suppressed. She was not angry, not because she didn't care, but because her mind was occupied by another happy event. Not long ago, someone proposed to her daughter. This kind of thing is not uncommon. There are many people who want to marry into the Big Mom pirates. What makes Big Mom happy is the identity of the other party. The son of the king of the Elbaf giant kingdom, Loki. Because she destroyed a village in the Elbaf kingdom when she was young and caused the death of the giant hero Yorulu due to injuries. Charlotte Linlin is an existence hated by giants all over the world. Now the opportunity has come. As long as she marries Loki, her daughter will become the princess of Elbaf, and the past grievances will have a chance to be resolved, so she did not take the temporary failure to heart. Elbaf's strength is known as the world's strongest country. If this giant army joins her, the world's pattern will inevitably change again. Chapter 758 Father's Good Intentions. Have all the invited people responded? Yes, they all said they would come to the engagement ceremony on time, but the Beast's pirates have not responded yet. They will come. By the way, have I made my request clear? Yes, we have specially invited Zorora and his wife to participate in this engagement ceremony. Well, that's good. It's a pity that you could have had more brothers and sisters. Speaking of Zorora, Charlotte Linlin seemed to be a little nostalgic. If it weren't for the other party's special status, she would have definitely snatched the bride at that time. Judging from the strength that Zorora has shown in recent years, if he had chosen to marry her, the child born would not be weaker than Katakuri. As for the current invitation, there is no special meaning. Charlotte Linlin's personality is actually very changeable. Sometimes she is extremely cruel, and sometimes she is as naive as a child. In her opinion, Zorora is also a friend. Moreover, they are fur tribes. There are not many fur tribes in Totland. She also hopes that more fur tribes will settle here. It's a pity that Kaido doesn't agree with marriage at all. Otherwise, we would have been the strongest pirate group long ago. Thinking of this, Charlotte Linlin suddenly became a little angry. In addition to finding a husband for herself, Charlotte Linlin would also arrange marriages for her children, and their husbands or wives would have their own status. Charlotte Linlin saw the rise of Yamato, and of course she hoped that one of her sons could marry Kaido's daughter, but as soon as she started the topic, she was ridiculed by Kaido. She also had her own ideas for inviting the beasts. On the one hand, it was to show her own power, and the status of the guests could also reflect the status of the host family. As a pirate, she couldn't invite the navy to attend the ceremony. She invited people from the underground world, and in today's underground world, the beasts are the biggest cards. On the other hand, it seems that she wants to tell this little brother that, if you don't marry, I can find a better partner. Get everything ready, if something unexpected happens. Charlotte Linlin didn't say anything else, but her eyes swept across Katakuri and Perospero, and even they felt a chill. Don't worry, Mom, we will do it. No matter which the emperor, they all value their face very much. For them, losing face is a big deal. The venue has been set up on Cake Island, and the cadres of the pirate group have also gone to various places to collect food for this year. Although she is keen on tea parties, Charlotte Linlin is not crazy enough to hold tea parties every day. She also knows that the total amount of food that can be handed over by the islands in the territory is limited, so the number of events held each year is also limited. If she held events without limit, the territory would probably be empty long ago, but even so, there are still islands that are often punished for not being able to pay food. While Charlotte Linlin was busy holding the engagement ceremony, the beasts also received the invitation. Aha, marrying the giants? That old woman really did something incredible. Looking at the content on the letter paper, Kaido didn't know what he was thinking, and then he got up and went to the sky island above and found Zoro, who was farming. There was a ready-made giant here, and he should know something special. Elbaf and Big Mom. Upon hearing this information, Zoro also showed an incredible look. There is more than one giant country on the sea, but among these giant countries, Elbaf is undoubtedly the strongest, and other giant countries will also make corresponding measures according to Elbaf's actions. Yoru's death is a thorn in the hearts of the giants. Charlotte Linlin is the public enemy of the giants, and Zoro is no exception. Ah, this is an invitation letter. Does this Loki have a high status in Elbaf? Although a prince is a prince, he is not necessarily in a high position. A prince without real power may live worse than an ordinary noble. Prince Loki. That's not surprising. The king dotes on him, but I didn't expect him to dote on him to this extent. It seems that this matter is true. Hehe, this sea is really getting more and more interesting. He came here just to confirm whether Charlotte Linlin was talking nonsense. As for other aspects, he would not consult Zoro's opinion. Zerora and Satsuna? Did she specifically ask them to go? That old woman should have a lot of ideas about the minks, but it's okay. She still has moral principles at this time. To be more precise, at least she has some moral principles with me. Zoro has no right to make suggestions, but Arceus does, especially since his firstborn son is among the invited guests. Kaido has never fully trusted Charlotte Linlin. Even if she is a marriage partner, Charlotte Linlin may not kill her. Germa 66 in the original book is an example. But the beasts are different. The morality between pirates must be based on strength. Even if Charlotte Linlin has ideas about the minks, she will not use this method at this time, not to mention that there are already a small number of minks in her territory. In this regard, she is more like a collector. She doesn't care about the number, as long as she has them. You mean, just let them go normally? Of course, although there are some minor frictions, it's not to the point of falling out. As for the team leader, I plan to let Yamato go. It is impossible for him to attend Charlotte Linlin's event now. This is not more than 10 years ago, when his reputation was not prominent. The beating of the Tussi Emperors will probably make the Navy's nerves explode again. Just listening to Kaido's arrangement, Arceus always felt that something was wrong. Yamato's status was fine. Although it was a bit too important, as Kaido's big sister on the ship, it was reasonable to give her some face. But let Yamato attend this kind of event. Hey, you don't want Yamato to make trouble and ruin this thing, do you? How is it possible? Do you think Yamato has the ability to do this? Although it is cruel, it is a fact. It is okay to let Yamato do reckless things. Unless it is to overturn the table directly, it is really not suitable for Yamato. Just let her see the world. Those old hands in the underground world will also be present at this event. It's a good opportunity for her to understand how she can take over this pirate group in the future. In the past, Kaido might have really thought of making trouble. He didn't have anything, so why should the other party have it? But now it's different. In Kaido's view, those giants are much weaker than the Dynamax. To make up for last night's chapter 759, what the book says is true. Although he would not give up the idea of the giant's military strength, he would not destroy Big Mom's good deeds. If the two sides become enemies in the future, it would be more interesting if she is stronger. War reflects the value of people. The higher the value of the enemy, the more powerful one's own people can be. Arceus did not tell Kaido that Charlotte Linlin's marriage would not be successful. Although the world is changing and may cause some wonderful changes, whether it succeeds or not, it has no effect on them. And that old woman seems to want Yamato to marry her son. She doesn't even look at what those trash are qualified to do such a thing. It just happens to let her know what she will never get. Ugh. His relationship with Charlotte Linlin is very strange. Sending people to participate in the engagement ceremony was originally a blessing, but Kaido wanted to anger Charlotte Linlin and let Yamato get in touch with those businessmen in the future. As for Charlotte Linlin's children, except for Katakuri, he really didn't like anyone. When he was on the Rocks ship, Katakuri was a little different. This is also the most special point of the Big Mom Pirates. If you look for a pirate group with the most Rocks remnants, it must be the Big Mom Pirates. In addition to her, many children were born at that time. Katakuri was one of them. When Kaido boarded Rock's ship, Katakuri was already 4 years old. His strength is also related to the environment in which he grew up. After all, growing up in that kind of place, it is not enough to rely on the protection of Charlotte Linlin. In addition to him, the people in the Big Mom Pirates are either not strong enough or look strange. Katakuri is old enough to be Yamato's father. In this case, Charlotte Linlin's idea of marriage is naturally shattered. The day is coming soon. Let them prepare to leave. As for the gifts, just bring some honey and cream. In a sense, it is also easy to participate in the activities held by Charlotte Linlin. As long as you can bring dessert ingredients of high enough value, you can basically solve this problem, and these are what the beasts lack the most. Whether it is the honey of the 3 bees or the cream of the cream fairy, these are all no-cost businesses for the beasts. Engagement ceremony? Yes, Lord Arceus meant it. While thinking of a new reason to fool Yang Jesse-kan, Setsuna saw the invitation letter brought by Zorora. In theory, she and Charlotte Linling had a brief relationship of rivalry. However, she never worried about her failure. From the perspective of the fur tribe, humans, a fur tribe with less hair, are not suitable for dating. In addition, Charlotte Linling's weird personality made her feel good after a few brief contacts. Especially in recent years, Charlotte Linling's figure has begun to change. It is completely impossible to tell what she looked like decades ago. From a slender waist to a barrel waist, only her ex-husbands know the span. Especially her later husbands, and the experience of those husbands in previous years is completely different. Although in some aspects, Charlotte Linlin is even more moody than Kaido, and Kaido is generally stable when he is not drunk, but Charlotte Linlin is different. There are too many things that trigger her age switch. However, at the tea party, she was generally friendly, and Setsuna had never seen her lose control. Then wait a moment, I'll go pack some things. It will take many days to go back and forth. She took out a small white suitcase from the warehouse, which was made by Arceus himself, and distributed to senior cadres. Like the island cloud bag in Yamato's hand, they are special space equipment made by Arceus using secret power. Although the line under the sky island cloud has the same properties, ordinary Pokemon cannot use secret power to process it into space equipment with an internal space far exceeding the surface. The wizards in Hogwarts next door will cast the Traceless extension spell to expand the space of tents and suitcases, and this power has become exclusive to Arceus. The rarity of the equipment prevented it from being popularized. Only senior officials and a few lucky people at the annual meeting could get the right to use it. Yamato got the internal test product at the beginning. With the feedback from Yamato's use, this convenient prop was also distributed to many people. Logically, this unscientific thing should be more eye-catching than biotechnology. After all, taking out a nearly 2-meter mace from an ordinary satchel is outrageous, no matter how you look at it, but in the face of all kinds of strange abilities, no one has ever noticed this. The engagement ceremony will take at most 1 day, so they have a way to rush, but if there is no emergency, Zorora will not fly at full speed like that. But just as Setsuna opened the box, she turned around and found some strange things inside. "You two get out of here." She saw Miyawana and Wolf trying to hide in the box. Due to the special nature of the island cloud, after it was processed into a box with the secret power, it has some breathability, so Miyawana and Wolf tried to hide in it, and followed them to the engagement ceremony to take a look. "No, we want to go too. Engagement and all that, sounds so interesting." "Yeah, you didn't take us when you and Dad got engaged, so we want to go this time too." "How can you not go if you're not engaged? Who did you learn this nonsense from? Come on. I didn't say I won't take you." For some reason, she felt that she seemed to be more irritable than before after becoming a mother, and at the same time, she also understood why Ling was often furious when she was a child. It was just to attend the ceremony, and she thought it was nothing to take the children with her. To be precise, she treated this as an ordinary team building activity and originally planned to go with her family. After taking the 2 children out of the box, Setsuna asked them to notify the rest of the family, but on the way, Miyawana and Wolf discussed another topic. Sure enough, what the book says is right, that house destroying effect really works. Yes, now mom agrees to take us, but it's not to destroy the house, it's to destroy the house. Miyawana corrected the word in Wolf's mouth, but he didn't take it seriously. It's all the same. I really want to see what that person called Luzon is like. He seems to have said a lot of special things. They didn't know that this was what Setsuna had planned, and they thought their plan had succeeded. As for the word Luzon, when Misu was compiling the doctrine, she collected some quotations from Arceus through Shaina, and she felt that some of the words were very philosophical. But Arceus said that those words were not said by him, and he couldn't remember who said it, so he just said Luzon, which eventually led to the current situation. Chapter 760, a new term, Big Mom's idea. Arceus said so, but as a fanatic, Misu made some self-imagination and supplements, and finally derived a different conclusion. In Misu's eyes, this is the excuse that the god found for keeping a low profile, so she marked all those quotations as Luzon. This word is completely a transliteration in this world, so in the Arceus cult, Luzon equals anonymous, and it has become a professional religious term. Of course, the sentence just now is an exception, and that sentence was really said by Luzon. Originally, it was said that this room was too dark, and everyone would definitely not allow a skylight here. But if you advocate tearing down the roof, they will come to reconcile and be willing to open the skylight. Zerora and Setsuna's family gathered a lot of people, and finally, under the leadership of Yamato, they went to the territory of Big Mom like the delegation. Wow, what a big ship. In the Totland Sea, on the Juice Sea, Yamato's Pokemon and the Giant's ships met by chance. Compared with the exquisite Pokemon, the Giant's ships looked very rough, and were several long strips of Viking-style ships. Although it was far less technologically advanced than the Yamato Pokemon, it was large enough, which was also the consistent style of the Giants. There were no waves on the sea at this time, and the Pokemon relied on the mechanical power provided by Plombrum to travel. The Giants were even simpler, paddling manually, and the huge paddles were much larger than those of ordinary people, and each swing could create a lot of waves. There were all muscular giants on board, and occasionally 1 or 2 female giants could be seen, and in the cabin, the prepared gifts were piled up. Remember what I said before. No messing around, no running around, or I won't take us out again. But those guys are really big, can we get closer and play with them? It's not like you haven't seen giants before. Doesn't Soro like to play with you? Soro is Soro, these big guys are different at first glance. It was unreasonable to see giants here in the past, but it was different this time. After all, they were the protagonists of the engagement. It was at this time that 2 ships decorated with desserts came over. Due to the different status of the beasts and the giants, the Big Mom pirates specially arranged people to welcome them, and also to prevent any unnecessary conflicts between them. Duke, long time no see. Pokmu, you seem to be doing well, you seem to have gained weight. It's inevitable to live here, please follow me, Mom has prepared it. Since the fur tribe was specially invited, Charlotte Linlin asked Pokmu, who had joined her, to come here to welcome them. Logically, the leader here is Yamato, but due to his status as a fur tribe member, Pokemon naturally regards Setsuna as the leader, but Yamato doesn't care about this. After landing on the island, Miyawana and Wolf, who came to Cake Island for the first time, were immediately attracted by the wonderful sights on the island. Although Pokemon are also magical creatures, these running and moving foods and houses made mainly of biscuits and cakes still aroused their curiosity. The fur tribe used to be a salty party, which was related to the living environment of Zal. The land restrictions made it impossible for them to grow crops in large quantities. They basically relied on the elephant master for supplies. Sea fish and sea salt were the easiest things for them to get, and sugar was a rare commodity that was hard to come by. Miyawana and Wolf were born on Ghost Island, and the rich living environment also changed their tastes. Uncle Percumus, can we eat the houses here? No, only those that are about to expire can be eaten. There will be a professional demolition team to handle this matter. If you want, I can take you to see it. Forget it, Pacumus, take us to the venue first. Aren't we here for business this time? Okay, Duke, my mother must have been waiting for a long time. Setsuna interrupted Pacumus. She had been here several times and knew that the expiration of Cake Island did not refer to the shelf life, but the tasting period. The food here will be eaten within the most delicious time limit. Beyond this time, it will be considered a defective product. Led by Pacumus, they quickly arrived at the venue. This ceremony seemed to be much more serious than the previous tea parties. At least Setsuna did not see Smoothie using strange things to squeeze juice. Perhaps to show her friendliness, Charlotte Lingling put away a lot of things in front of the giants. Zorora, Setsuna, Yamato, you are here too. Kaido is quite considerate this time. Mama seeing the arrival of several people, Charlotte Lingling stood up and took them in. Before this, only the kings of the underground world such as Stussy enjoyed this treatment. In front of the guests, Charlotte Lingling did not mention any things that might cause unpleasantness. Now she is still rational. The gifts that father asked us to bring you are not valuable things, just special cream and honey. Yamato handed a few jars to Charlotte Lingling. In her hands, those huge jars were as small jars of tea. Charlotte Lingling is keen on the mystery of opening gift boxes, but she doesn't mind this kind of thing that points out the target and is something she likes. Really a good gift. With these, we can definitely make the most delicious wedding cake. You should know these people. They all have a lot of business dealings with Kaido. Everyone, please take a seat. Except for Yumit, the others took the initiative to show their goodwill. Even Yumit smiled. At the beginning, the beasts relied on Lapis to build their own transport team, which made Yumit lose a lot of business, but he couldn't afford to offend the beasts. Is this your child? It's really cute. Flamp, Anger, don't you want to make friends? Go and meet new friends now. Looking at Miawana and Wolf, Charlotte Lingling seemed to have a new idea. If Zorora is not okay, his children seem to be good. Seeing that they are so young, there should be a good chance. She immediately called two children of similar age. Charlotte Lingling would periodically spoil children under the age of 10. These younger children have always been with them, and at the same time, they also use their own power to instill a thought in them. That is, they must listen to themselves. So Flamp and Anger behaved very obediently, and after the guests arrived, the nun's photo was also invited out, and Perispero also came here with the last key person. Prince Elbaf, His Highness Loki is here. Chapter 761, The Runaway Marriage. Yamato's intelligence has improved. Amid the heavy footsteps, more than a dozen giants appeared here. The number was not large, but because it was a special group of giants, a team of more than a dozen people could be said to be luxurious. She even saw a familiar person among the accompanying personnel. Charlotte Lingling, we brought the friendship of Elbaf. Among humans, Charlotte Linling's body size is undoubtedly huge. But compared with these giants, she looks a little mini. After all, for the giants, 12 meters is a bottom line. If you can't even reach 12 meters, it is dwarfism among the giants. Elbaf has the title of the world's #1 power, and its national strength is also recognized. Even facing the Emperor of the Sea, the leading giant has no respect at all. To be precise, he still hates this demon who killed Yarulu. If it weren't for the order of the Giant King, he would never follow Loki to attend here. But the Giant King was too partial to Loki. After learning that his son fell in love with Charlotte Linling's daughter, he agreed to this matter and sent this team. Ms. Lingling, where is Lala? I have been waiting for this day for too long. Pushing aside the guards in front of him, Loki walked to Charlotte Lingling. At this time, he behaved politely and held a bunch of ordinary flowers in his hand. His meeting with Lala was an accident. It was also that time that made him fall in love with Lala at first sight and fall in love with her uncontrollably. If it weren't for the fact that Lala's mother was Charlotte Lingling, he would definitely ignore the Giant King and come here to propose marriage directly. Well, Lala has been waiting for you for a long time. She should be changing into a dress now. But things didn't go so smoothly at Lala's residence. Crack. Charlotte Afu crushed the floor in front of her with one foot, her eyes full of disbelief. What did you say? Lala ran away from marriage? They are all Charlotte Lingling's children, and they know the nature of this mother. Once her bulimia attacks, even her own children will kill her without hesitation if they stand in her way. How much Charlotte Linlin longed for the giants was known to everyone in the kingdom of Totland. Lala's choice to escape the marriage at this time was undoubtedly a slap in Charlotte Linlin's face in public. Once caught, she would be in trouble. Yes, Lala. Damn it, when did it happen? It's been a while, just when you all went to receive guests. Chiffon. You know what Lala is planning, right? This is Cake Island, Charlotte Linlin's territory. As the party to the engagement, Lala can't leave here quietly unless someone has been covering up for her. Do you know that you've caused a big disaster? What's wrong? Brother Katakuri, Lala. Katakuri and the others were responsible for taking Lala's wedding carriage to the venue. Hearing the noise inside, Katakuri came in. When he heard Daifuku's explanation, a few drops of cold sweat flowed down his forehead. While he was worried about Charlotte Linlin's anger, he was also worried about his sister's situation. All his brothers and sisters were the objects of his concern. He knew what the consequences would be, but he had to report it to Charlotte Lingling because he had no power to make the final decision on what to do next. After receiving the news, Charlotte Lingling found an excuse to temporarily leave the venue. She did not speak, but all the children knew that Charlotte Lingling was on the verge of rage, but was just forcing herself to endure it because of something. After knowing that Lala had escaped, Charlotte Lingling immediately ordered to catch her back. But according to the intelligence from the outer sea area, Lala had already left the Totland Sea and was now missing. Chiffon, you come to pretend to be Lala. No, from now on, you are Lala. But mom. No buts, this is an order. Charlotte Chiffon, Charlotte Lala's twin sister, has almost no difference in voice and appearance. Charlotte Lingling wants to achieve her goal in this way. Faced with Charlotte Lingling's order, Chiffon did not dare to resist and could only get on the carriage and go to the engagement venue. But as soon as they met, Loki's eyes changed. The look he gave Chiffon was not full of admiration, only indifference and sadness. You are not Lala. I'm Amor. What are you talking about? She is my daughter Lala. Yes, I'm Lala. Loki, what are you talking about? Under the influence of Charlotte Lingling, Chiffon still lied. Appearance can deceive people. Her steps, breathing frequency, and standing posture are all different from Lala. This little trick can't deceive me. Do you remember what flowers I gave you when we first met? No, isn't it the flowers you are holding now? I didn't give you flowers that day, so Lala didn't want to marry me, right? He seemed to be a big and strong giant, and he fell in love with Lala at first sight, but at the same time, he was also a sentimental man. After just a few times of getting along, he had already remembered everything about Lala in his heart. Even Lala's other brothers and sisters could not tell them apart so clearly. Charlotte Linlin, this is deception. You have failed Elbaf's friendship. Goodbye. No, there should be no chance to see each other again. Loki seemed to be emotionally hurt. He exposed everything in public without hesitation, and then left here with the giants, leaving only Charlotte Linlin on the verge of rage and the bewildered guests. Of course, in an unknown place, Stussy smiled. Lala's escape was so secretive, because the world government secretly helped her. Before she came here, the undercover lurking on Cake Island discovered Lala's idea. The world government did not want to see the big mob pirates have a connection with Elbaf, so it used its own power to help her escape from the Banco coup. At the same time, Yamato talked about unbelievable topics with Zorora. There might be a traitor here. Miss Yamato, why do you think so? How could a person escape from here so quietly? Someone must have helped her. We should investigate it after we return. There is nothing wrong with the logic, but the fact that Yamato could think of this from such a small matter was beyond Zorora's expectation. Miss Yamato, the master will be very happy to see you like this. Ah, why? It's just that I also wanted to sneak out back then, but I didn't have any chance. They are all sea emperors, so they should not be bad, so I think there is a traitor. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762. Nothing but practice. Big Mom's Taboo. She can only say that this is a matter of experience. Even though her childhood was very different from before because of Arceus' existence, she still yearned for the outside world and wanted to sneak out more than once. Although Arceus took her out to see the outside world, it was completely different from going out by herself. It was just that countless failures told her that it was impossible. She was not the leader of the beasts. She could do a lot of things without orders from above, but when faced with orders from Kaido or Arceus, the members of the beasts knew what to do. Not to mention her as a child. Even when she was a teenager, she couldn't leave Onigashima quietly. The ships were controlled, the ports were monitored, and the submerged harbors and waterfalls were guarded by people and Pokémon. She would be discovered in a short time when she appeared in any place entering or leaving Wano country, not to mention those Kadas. Although this has a lot to do with the terrain of Wano country, it is ultimately the same nature. Cake Island is the base camp of the big mob pirates, and the island is full of various homies and members of the pirates. Even if they were not qualified to stop Lala, Charlotte Linlin could not have known nothing. And in terms of strength, Lala was not comparable to her. There were many strong people in the Beast's pirates. The top two were Arceus and Kaido, which was undisputed, but the third choice had always been a mystery, because the strength of many people in the current beasts was not fixed, and Yamato was the most exaggerated one among them. Under normal circumstances, she and the enhanced version of the three calamities were evenly matched, but the reference value of this battle was not high. After all, it was a drill for one's own people, and many of the things that were kept in the bottom of the box would not be used. But when she burst out with all her strength, she could fight Kaido for a day. If the situation was appropriate enough, she could even kill the golden lion who had recovered to his peak in a short period of time. Even the members of the beasts could not say who was the third, but if it was a fight to the death, it would definitely be Yamato. She was not that strong as a teenager, but through her observation of Chiffon, she could roughly judge at what level Lala's strength was. The strength of the big mom pirates is also very special. They are not as detailed as the beasts. They can roughly infer a person's position based on numbers. Here, the strongest Kadas are Charlotte Linlin's 4 desert generals. After that, there are the brothers and sisters of the 4 generals, as well as other children or sons-in-law and daughters-in-law. It is usually unknown how many children Charlotte Linlin has in one pregnancy, but if there is an outstanding child in this pregnancy, the brothers and sisters will not be much worse. Katakuri and Smoothie are examples. Chiffon is not much different from ordinary people, and Lala will not violate this rule too much. If such a person can sneak out of Cake Island without being noticed, the big mom pirates will not be worthy of being the emperor of the sea. The figure of the giant tribe gradually disappeared from everyone's sight, and the scene was completely quiet. Charlotte Linlin lost face this time. She originally wanted to show off in front of various forces, but she ended up like this. It would be ridiculous if this matter got out, but now, no one dared to laugh out loud. No matter which sea emperor, they relied on terror instead of kindness to survive on the sea. If you offend Charlotte Linlin now, you won't have enough lives. It seems that this ceremony will end early. Yes, I thought there would be a few more days of banquets. Zerora and Setsuna talked in a low voice. The people of the beasts were not afraid of Charlotte Linlin's small group. Besides, Charlotte Flamp's young children didn't understand what happened. But as the eldest son, Perispero couldn't help shaking. Bang! The calm was interrupted by a slap. Charlotte Linlin slapped Chiffon in the face. In front of all the guests, Chiffon was beaten and flew out. Mom, please don't do this. This is my mistake. I'll take people to bring Lala back. Chiffon didn't make a sound because of the pain. She was knocked unconscious by Charlotte Linlin's heavy blow. Outsiders couldn't understand how much Charlotte Linlin, who wanted to build a world, valued the giants. The opportunity to resolve the conflict with the giants was right in front of her, but it was ruined by her own daughter, which made the already severed relationship even worse. She knew that after this incident, it was impossible to repair the relationship again. Therefore, when she saw the face that looked like Lala, she couldn't hold back her anger. Only Katakuri dared to stand up at this time and slightly dissuaded Charlotte Linlin. She had too many children. To get her love, they had to be either children under 10 years old who could trigger special buffs, or sons as valuable as Katakuri. At this time, Charlotte Linlin was just furious, not having an attack of bulimia. There is a difference between being angry and being crazy, so Katakuri wanted to stop her to protect his sister. No need. Mom. I don't have that daughter. If I see her again, from now on, there is no place for her in the family and the pirate group. Find her and kill her. Take Chiffon away. I don't want to see her. Yes, looking at the brutality in Charlotte Linlin's eyes, Katakuri knew that nothing he said would work. He waved his hand to signal his brother to take Chiffon away, and at the same time, hope that Lala could go a little further. You must not come back again, Lala. Every pirate group has its own iron law, and in the Big Mom Pirates, anything that goes against Charlotte Linlin's will is not allowed. Her desire to control her children is much stronger than Kaido. Whether it is Kaido in the original work or Kaido at this time, they are tolerant of Yamato's willfulness, but Charlotte Linlin is different. If you dare to disobey her, even your own children will be killed. In this regard, Lala did not understand what kind of person her mother was. She ran away from the marriage not because the object of the marriage was the prince of the giant tribe, but because she wanted freedom. Lala is an optimist and simple. She did not understand at all that she hoped to pursue her own happiness freely, and did not want her marriage and life to be dominated by her parents. Therefore, no matter who the object of the marriage was, she would do so. She even naively believed that Charlotte Linlin would only be angry for a while, and she did not expect that Charlotte Linlin wanted to kill her directly. This escape from marriage can be said to be a feat of the Charlotte family. Even Katakuri did not dare to disobey her openly, but he could secretly let her go, such as leading the team to chase Lala without working hard and taking advantage of the situation. Chapter 763 Different Mothers. Charlotte Linlin's good mood disappeared, and she left without even saying a word of politeness. Katakuri also took people outside to do something, and the matter here was left to Perospero. As the eldest son of the Big Mom Pirates, he had dealt with similar things many times. After all, Charlotte Linlin was moody and never considered the occasion. It was a good result that he did not do anything more out of control this time. That, everyone, there was a small accident today. Please don't spread it, otherwise mom will get angry and everyone will have a hard time. He mentioned this matter lightly at first, and in fact, no one wanted to publicize it, even Morgans. It was not that he was afraid, but that this matter was not popular. There must be a ratio between risk and benefit. Even he would not take a huge risk to do something with little benefit. The woman's escape from marriage was not only a slap in the face of Charlotte Linlin, but also Elbaf. Excessive publicity of this matter would offend a powerful pirate group and the world's most powerful country at the same time. The celebration will not end for now. You can take a break. We will arrange for everyone to leave later. In this case, the engagement ceremony seemed to have changed. The pirate groups with the deepest connection with the underground world are Beasts and Big Mom. With Charlotte Linlin's departure, Yamato, as the young master of beasts, attracted a lot of attention. If they could get some promises from her, it would undoubtedly be great for future business. Moreover, according to gossip, Kaido's daughter seemed to be easier to fool, at least not as difficult as her father. But at the first step, they hit a wall. They could chat, but as long as they talked about business issues, they only got a string of numbers. She was very self-aware in this regard, especially after experiencing that unsupported voyage. She understood how important the money bag in the hands of beasts was, and Arceus's education of her in this regard was also very special. He knew that Yamato was not good at this kind of thing. In fact, he and Kaido were not very good at it either, but it didn't matter, because they were strong enough. Tesoro, Kachiro, these are all professional talents. Professionals do professional things, and that's enough. The Beast family is now very wealthy. Even if Yamato has evolved into a prodigal, as long as she does not interfere in internal business and make some weird decisions, it is impossible for her to squander all the property. She has no bad habits, but her way of thinking is a little different from that of ordinary people. This is also the habit of many large forces. It is not terrible to be incompetent. What is terrible is that people with no ability are in high positions and like to mess around, causing the normal operation of the organization to gradually collapse. The engagement ceremony eventually became a joke. Yamato and the others did not take it seriously. From Charlotte Linlin's mentality, this matter will definitely not be turned over, but when the anger is over, she will not talk about it again. The only ones who may not be happy are Miawana and Wolf. Due to the huge changes in the engagement ceremony, their travel itinerary has been greatly shortened. But when leaving, Pacumus brought a shocking news when seeing him off. Duke, Mom has something for me to tell you. Even though he knew that Yamato was the one who spoke for this group, he still chose to convey the message to Setsuna. This was the influence of the identity of the fur tribe. Well, just say what you want to say. Why are you hesitating? Yes, what Mom meant is that if the beast meets Lala in the future, I hope you can bring her back. It's best to send her body back directly. She will thank you. This is what Mom said. Of course, you can just pretend you didn't hear it. Charlotte Linlin's children have different personalities, and they seem to have inherited different sides of her. Kataka is calmness, Perospero's ambition, and some children with cruel and perverted personalities, while Chiffon and Lala are both the type who are very gentle to others. Pacumus doesn't dislike them, but he has to carry out Big Mom's orders. Okay, I got it. Take some time to go back to Zal. Your parents care about you. Yes. Also, this is a little experience of the Moon Lion. It is summarized by everyone. You should try to overcome the problem of not being able to control that state. Yes, Duke, I wish you a safe journey. The Pokemon left the Totland Sea, and Miawana seemed shocked by Charlotte Linlin's words. When they were talking just now, Pokemus did not avoid her and Wolf. She couldn't believe that there was a mother who really wanted to kill her daughter, and Charlotte Linlin seemed to be very kind before. What's wrong? What are you thinking about? Mom, you won't do such a terrible thing like that, big aunt. Miawana seemed to have substituted some terrible things just now. After all, if you don't obey, you will be killed. That is a very terrible future. Even Wolf, who didn't take it seriously, looked over, and then they got a very strange answer. PFFT, what are you thinking about? If I really did that, you two little brats would have died hundreds of times. The brother and sister looked at each other. Although the answer was very direct, it made them intuitively understand that this kind of thing was impossible. They immediately returned to their original state and studied various things on the ship. Zorora, do you think I should take this opportunity to scare them? After realizing it, Setsuna felt that he had missed an opportunity to educate his children. It might be a good opportunity to cure their mischief. Forget it, this will leave a shadow. The relationship between the relatives of the Big Mom pirates is not as friendly as it seems. It's not bad to grow up like this. You also went through this. Nonsense. I'm not like them. I must have inherited your genes. Okay, if you say so, it's so. The travelers are on their way back to Onigashima. On Onigashima, a person is looking for an opportunity to show himself. After the replacement battle, Mandafesh and others have left Wano country one after another, and Jack, Isuka and others are also carrying out some tasks outside. But Fuzzy Fu stayed here, observing the pirate group he had joined for a long time. He was completely unconvinced about losing to Sasuke and being almost defeated by Isuka. If it weren't for Arceus' terrifying power, the gap between them shouldn't be like this. It was too difficult to accumulate merits through ordinary missions, especially now that the times had changed. Chapter 764, Fuzifu's new stage. Before the reputation of the beasts was established, it was easy to accumulate military merits, but as the reputation of the beasts grew, it became more and more difficult to accumulate military merits. There are too many monks and too little porridge, and there are countless people watching this matter. Now it has come to the era of the four emperors. Due to the joining of Shanks, the struggle in the new world has temporarily stopped, and they have entered a short period of balance. Before this balance is broken, large-scale conflicts are unlikely to occur. Although there are more and more new rookies entering here, the number of beasts is also constantly expanding. Those who have been stationed in the outer seas for many years are keeping a close eye on these guys. So Fozef plans to change his approach. At this time, he is observing the retired old pirates on Onigashima. He has worked in CP9 for a long time and has seen many pirates, but this is the first time he has seen a pirate group with a retirement system. Not to mention pirates, even the CP agency, it is almost impossible to retire because these agents know too many secrets. Either keep working hard to climb up and strive to become a big boss sitting in the office from a frontline agent, or fight on the front line until the day of death. Moreover, the agents in service have all experienced the brainwashing education of the world government. They do not have the idea of retirement in their minds. Robloxy is an example. They were almost killed by the world government, but they finally returned to the world government and became the most useful knife. At this time, he was observing the living conditions of some people in Curie and even recorded a lot of information. Haffert, 79 years old, an early member of the Beast Pirates, lost a leg in the battle. Because of his ordinary combat power, he has been staying in Wano country as the boss of a purchasing station. How can this be a pirate group? Looking at the old man sitting in a rocking chair basking in the sun with a cotton wool floating on his head, Fozef shook his head and left here silently. After his careful census, he found that the treatment here is really good. At least those pirates who retired smoothly have their own places to go, which is also the life that Mandafesh yearns for. However, ordinary pirates retire, even if they have old qualifications, just mix some idle jobs in Wano country, or work as security guards on other islands. That is seriously inconsistent with Mandafesh's expected life. Then Fozef came to the church. During this time, he also had a new job, a physical education teacher who would not get sick, responsible for training the orphans here. Finding stone tablets or historical texts, precious mythical beast species fruits, these are the biggest achievements in the beasts, but these things are harder to find one by one, so Fozef temporarily found something he is better at. His background means that he has mastered things that many people don't know, such as the training method of the 6 styles. Training the 6 styles requires high physical conditions. Even the world government will use special methods to enhance nutrition. There are some small secrets on the training island. The ingredients made by the beasts through various Pokemon can make up for this problem. Although doing so will make him a thorn in the eyes of the world government, he has long been on the death list of the world government and doesn't care at this time. He didn't bring up this matter before, mainly because the existence of the 6 styles is actually a bit useless. As the inherited skills of the world government and the navy, their practicality is unquestionable, but you can't learn them just because you want to. You have to lay the foundation from a young age so that you can master it smoothly in the future. People with enough talent can take this step, but it is not necessary. For example, if Jack wants to learn, even if he has no foundation, his physique is strong enough to support training. However, his strong armed color makes him have no need for iron blocks and paper paintings. A defensive warrior does not need to move like shaving, and his attack methods do not look down on finger guns and storm kicks. As for the moon step, his own jumping ability can also be suspended in the air for a short time, which is also a bit useless. At this point, they have a strong control over their bodies, and the derived life return has also become useless. Even if they don't study deliberately, they have a strong control over their bodies, and this is Jack, a defensive warrior with a serious bias. Other carders who rank high don't need it, and many people's own moves are also somewhat similar to the 6 styles. People who can quickly learn the 6 styles do not need to rely on the 6 styles to improve their combat power, and people who can rely on the 6 styles to improve their combat power cannot learn it immediately, and finally this dilemma arises. It was not until another batch of orphans reached the appropriate age that Misu suggested that the church train a group of warriors who could protect the gods, so that Fozef found an opportunity and became the martial arts coach here. After all, the 6 styles are the most systematic teaching, and they are just right for these half-grown children. Get your posture right. Waist strength is the foundation. If you can't stick to these, how can you protect the glory of the Lord? It was not Fozef, but Misu who gave the lecture. She rarely showed her strict side and trained with those children. Even though Fozef made it clear that it would be difficult to have an effect with her age and physical condition, she did not give up. Fozef temporarily started working behind the scenes, observing the living conditions of the pirates in Wano country, training the children adopted by the church, and also training the offspring of some members of the beasts. There were no waves in his life, but not long after, he found that his chance to show himself had come. After returning from Charlotte Linlin's engagement ceremony, Yamato and the others told Kaido what happened. Kaido seemed very happy about Charlotte Linlin's humiliation, and then Yamato also raised a question. She felt that there would be undercovers sent by the enemy inside the beasts. In order to prevent them from making trouble at inappropriate times, Yamato thought they should be cleared out in advance. This point was fully supported by Quinn. For the first time, he felt that Yamato's suggestion was so great. Kaido himself didn't care about this kind of thing, and with the terrain and national conditions of Wano country, the possibility of an undercover agent sneaking in was minimal. As for other territories, he was too lazy to bother with harmless things, but since Yamato had proposed it, he let her go. After all, it was not easy for her to make a valuable suggestion, so he had to support it at this time. Then, the problem arose. Although Yamato made this suggestion, she had no idea how to catch the undercover agent. So when she was recruiting an investigation team, Fuzzy Fu came to recommend himself. Apart from anything else, he was an agent, and he was also a top agent of the world government. He was very good at counterintelligence. And if he was lucky, if he ran into a few of his former colleagues, this would be a merit that came to his doorstep. Now, he is definitely an expert in this area in the Beast's Pirates. Chapter 765. Lady Luck is smiling. New abilities. What on earth am I doing? At this time, Fozef changed into an evening gown and was scanning the environment below from a tall building. He thought Yamato wanted to launch a purge movement, which was very common in the world government. In order to eliminate internal enemies, the world government often sends real confidants to clean up those who have different intentions in the team. And both the world government and the navy will send some undercovers to lurk in the pirate team. The original world destroyer Bondi Wald was attacked by CP agents who mixed into the pirate group and was eventually sent to Impelton. The closed-door nature of Wano country makes it very simple to check for foreign populations. When Quinn was popularizing identity cards, he used a very simple method, that is, to let the locals report it themselves. Let people living in the same area report each other to see who is a new face. If a stranger who no one knows appears, he will be further investigated. After a lot of investigations, nothing abnormal was found. However, the territory of the beasts is not limited to this island. It is not so difficult to sneak in some people from the outer islands. This is also where Fozef thought his mission would start. But in the end, he came to the entertainment ship of Gilantizulo, which had been at sea for a long time, to investigate his ability. With the tacit consent of two celestial dragon families, Gilantizulo, a sea city, has become an independent country recognized by the world government, and it is also a demilitarized zone. The absolute sanctuary, where the world government cannot casually take action, has now become the grey center of the underground world. All forces have some spies here. Due to the support of the celestial dragons, Tizulo has very high privileges here. Without Tizulo's consent, it is illegal for the navy to enter with weapons, but this is only the official rule. In private, I'm afraid no one can tell how many powerful people there are. Bang! A flare exploded in the sky. After that, in the center of Gilantizulo, a large group of motorcycle lizards began to run forward along the track in unison, and the riders on their backs were also using various methods to block other opponents. As the motorcycle lizards galloped, the surrounding audience seats also raised at tsunami-like cheers. This was an exclusive event of Gilantizulo, an alternative horse race. However, if you look closely, you can find that there is a brand new rider on the back of the leading motorcycle lizard. Yamato has already run over to participate in the competition. The reason for his coming here is that Yamato intends to test his ability here to see if he can successfully dig out some special people in Gilantizulo, where there are all kinds of people. At first, Fuzifu didn't think there was anything wrong, but now it seems that this action is more like Yamato wanting to play and has long deviated from the original purpose. It doesn't matter what Yamato wants to do, but if he has no results, he will look like a waste. In general, it will affect his career. It was at this time that Tizulo came behind him. Miss Yamato is just like that. Don't take it too seriously. I have been informed of the purpose of your trip. It just so happens that there are some things that need your help. After the official opening of Gilantisoro, this place became Tesoro's second office. He can always be seen at the headquarters of the 100 Beasts Fruit or on Gilantisoro's ship. However, it is only an office. Due to the special nature of this maritime city, he is not at ease with his family living here. What is the specific matter? The smooth operation here is inseparable from the help of the celestial dragons, but the families of the celestial dragons are not a monolithic entity. According to the original agreement, this is a demilitarized zone. Even the agents of the Navy and the world government cannot easily enter here. This was indeed the case some time ago, but recently some people have breached the contract. Guarantees Zoro's profits are too high. The huge profits make many people jealous and want to dig out the secrets here. Even some people in the world government are no exception. There is support from the celestial dragons here, but it is only a part of it. Those who spy on the secrets are agents from other forces. CP0? It's quite a challenge. Through Tizulo's description, Fozef also figured out what to do. It was not easy, but he was not afraid. Only such difficult things could bring high returns. This was a game between the people above. Both he and the agents sent to Gil and Tizulo were just pawns. If they didn't want to be abandoned, they had to make themselves more valuable. Fozef was born in CP9. He didn't know much about CP0, but he didn't know nothing about it. These top CP9s were originally the reserve of CP0, and this time, the goddess of luck seemed to be standing behind him. Originally, he planned to release some bait to see if there would be any fish to bite the hook, but by chance, he saw a familiar face from the surveillance screen. Are you sure it was him? I'm sure. I used to be an agent. In this line of work, memory is very important. You won't forget the faces of those key figures as long as you see them once. That guy is a member of CP0. I won't make a mistake. His code name is Kima. He is the captain of a team, but he shouldn't be carrying out this kind of mission. The action mode of CP0 is completely different from that of CP9, but Fozef remembers it very clearly. That guy was the captain of the CP0 team a few years ago. He was recruited at the beginning. This kind of team shouldn't do this kind of thing. Tesoro didn't care about what happened later. It was a pleasant surprise for him that Fozef could lock onto the target so quickly. That's not important. But if you are sure it's him, I will be ready to act. In Tesoro's hand, some gold began to melt. This was the result of his hard work over the years. The gold on the ship was controlled by his fruit ability. This was his absolute home court. Let me do it. That guy is a user of special abilities. If we are not careful, he will easily escape. Besides, I also want to see how big the gap is between me and CP0 now. Can you do it? If I remember correctly, CP0 is generally much stronger than CP9. I was indeed unsure before, but this time is different. I want to try out the power given by Lord Arceus. As he spoke, a black dagger condensed at the front of his arm. It looked like an object condensed from some kind of metal hair. This was an ability he gained through the 6-style training method. It was his advanced salary as a training officer. It was this power that successfully ignited his inner desire to gain new power through more achievements. I'm not in good shape, so I will only update once today. I will adjust and update 4 times tomorrow. Chapter 766, The Golden Theater. At this time on Gran Tesoro, Kima seemed to be like an ordinary tourist, touring Gran Tesoro, tapping his fingers on the wall from time to time. Unlike those ordinary tourists, he knew the essence of this place. The current Gran Tesoro is completely different from the Gran Tesoro in the original timeline. Tesoro did not use the power of the gold fruit and the bet to enslave others. The core employees on the ship came from the beast pirates, and the remaining ordinary employees were recruited from all over the world. However, people like the foreman are also retired people from the beasts. In addition, there are many franchisees in the shops on the ship. If you want to open a store here, you must pay a high franchise fee and rent, and even part of the income will be taken away by Tesoro. In addition, there are taxes, which is a huge expense. But even so, if you want to open a store on Gran Tesoro, they even have to rely on relationships and say hello to the officials of the world government. As a special grey economic center, the benefits brought here are too great. Even if Tesoro takes the bulk, they can still make a lot of money from tourists from all over the world. People who can travel here in this environment are not ordinary working class people. Most of them have achieved financial freedom. At the very least, they have brought enough Bailey and are ready to spend money. Kima in the crowd looks very ordinary, just like an ordinary tourist. The action against Quinn led to the annihilation of his team. Although he successfully escaped by faking his death with the power of the fruit and brought back some fragments of Arceus steel. But this is not enough to offset the punishment for his mission failure. This is also something that CP agents have long been accustomed to. No matter how great their previous achievements are, as long as the interests of the government are damaged, they cannot escape punishment. Sometimes the punished people can't figure out why they are punished. Fozef is an example. He has never figured out why an ordinary devil fruit makes the higher ups so angry. It costs a lot to cultivate a CP0. The team is wiped out. No matter what, Kima, as the captain, has a certain responsibility. The intelligence of Gran Tesoro was thrown to him. It seems to be a very leisurely job, but in fact, the crisis is not small. Behind it is the struggle between the celestial dragons, and at the same time, there are risks brought by the beasts, and it is extremely time consuming. Although Gilan Tesoro is called a ship, it is actually a city on the sea. Guimar doesn't believe that such a large cabin is hollow. There must be something hidden inside, but he has never found the entrance. This seems to be just an ordinary tourist city, but the 10-kilometer deck is built like a maze, and he has seen the buildings above Gilan Tesoro deform several times to carry out various special activities. This is also the reason why the construction of Gilan Tesoro took a lot of time, and deformable metals such as Arceus steel were also used in it. After a while, he spent a lot of money, but there was no result. The celestial dragons who ordered him behind him were a little impatient. Expenses are inevitable. Anyone who comes to a consumption place and doesn't spend a penny will feel that there is a problem. The celestial dragons don't care about this expense, but they can't accept his behavior of wasting Bailey. Damn Quinn and the beasts. Thinking of the root cause of his failure, Gima's mood became very unfriendly. At this time, a firework bloomed in the sky again, and at the highest point of Gilan Tesoro, Tesoro also came to the platform with his subordinates. The screen on the ship also switched. Everyone, I have good news for you. Next, Gilan Tesoro will randomly draw some lucky people. In the next trip, they will enjoy unprecedented special services, and the whole journey is free. Whoever can get the gold ticket will be the lucky one. As he said, he asked Bakura beside him to release several balloons. As the balloons exploded in the crowd, various lottery tickets also filled the sky. No one noticed that Bakura's hands were always emitting a faint light. The ability of the lucky fruit has been activated. Completely random things here are things that can be controlled. Gima had no intention of participating in this kind of thing, but wanted to take advantage of the new event to sneak into some places that are usually difficult to enter. But at this time, a gust of sea breeze suddenly blew, and a gold lottery ticket just passed through the wind and finally fell on Gima's head. He had just taken the thing off his head, and before he could see the lottery ticket clearly, several searchlights shone over him. Congratulations to all the lucky winners. By the way, the lottery ticket is pure gold. Please don't walk around. The staff will come to guide you to the new visiting place soon. Looking at the gold foil-like lottery ticket in his hand and the envious eyes of the people around him, Guima followed the staff to the main venue of Gilan Tesoro in order not to attract attention. Since the plan was broken, let's take a look at the new things. More than 20 people gathered together, and then the stage began to rise and fall. An independent elevator appeared under everyone's feet, taking them to different areas. The light and darkness changed, but Guima found that everyone around him disappeared. Although he felt something was wrong at this time, he didn't suspect anything. After all, he couldn't think of a reason to expose himself. He hadn't taken any action yet. At most, he was just a tourist who looked unclean. He thought this was a special venue, but when he looked closely, he seemed to have come to a desert, surrounded by dazzling sand. Is anyone there? What's going on? Kima shouted to the surroundings, while picking up a handful of sand. Then he found that these were not yellow sands at all, but pure golden sands. An ominous premonition appeared in his heart, but he did not take action. His current identity was still an ordinary person, and ordinary people could not use the moon step. It was at this time that the golden sands around him seemed to be controlled. The original golden sands gathered together and immediately surrounded everything around. The golden sands gradually melted and eventually formed an environment like an opera house made of gold. Kima was in the center of the stage, and in the audience seats, Tizulo appeared there. "Mr. Tizulo, is this the surprise you mentioned? It doesn't look so friendly. If it were an ordinary tourist, of course it wouldn't be like this, but you have crossed the line, haven't you, Mr. Kima?" These golden sands were all affected by Tizulo's ability. This golden theater was also a special space he prepared. Chapter 767, Senior, have you forgotten your promise to support me? This was originally the interior space of Gil and Tizulo, and the texture of his gold was different from that of ordinary gold. Through the buildings formed by these gold, this place has become an absolutely independent space. Ordinary movements cannot be transmitted, and Gil and Tizulo is now not only taking a group of lucky people for sightseeing activities, but also holding a carnival dance. As long as this place is not destroyed, people outside will not notice anything unusual. What are you talking about, Mr. Tizulo? I don't quite understand what you mean. Until this time, Guima still looked confused, just a little scared. Even if Tizulo called out his code name accurately, he still did not admit it. If it weren't for Fozef's guarantee, he would not believe that this person was really a CP0. His impression of CP0 still remained in the white suit and strange mask, and the kind of flamboyant personality that was afraid that others would not recognize him when walking on the street. It's okay, it doesn't matter if you don't understand. The stage has been prepared. Now it's the turn of the actors to appear. This time it's your old acquaintance. A wall of the golden theater suddenly melted, and the figure of Fozef also appeared there. It's been a long time since we last met, Senior Kima. You said you wanted to help me. You won't forget it so soon. Fozef appeared in front of Kima in the form of a human beast, very similar to his previous appearance, but the color has become mainly black and gray. The swollen body hair makes his body look a little bloated, but the originally fluffy hair is now completely made of steel, and there is also a decoration on his head similar to a Viking helmet, wrapping his original horns inside. This is his new ability, the Viking Pokemon Meowth Boss, the evolved form of Meowth in the Galar region. Originally Meowth was a Pokemon like a house cat, but with a change of living environment, Meowth has evolved into different branches. There was no Meowth in the Alola region. After a few Meowths were tributed to the Alola region, they lived with the nobles and gradually evolved a proud self-esteem. The Meowth in the Galar region is the helper of the fishermen. They have been living with the warlike sea people and even participated in foreign looting activities, so they have evolved into a more warlike appearance. I don't understand what you are talking about. It's already this late. There's no point in being stubborn. Senior Kima, your memory can't be that bad, right? Fuzzy F untransformed and revealed his original appearance. Only then did Kima understand what had happened. You traitor. So far, he hadn't thought of any flaws in himself, and even thought that this was just a surprise activity planned by Tesoro. He was still very confident in his undercover work, but now Kima understood why Tesoro insisted that there was something wrong with his identity. He met a damn old acquaintance. For those who are performing undercover work, meeting an old acquaintance is undoubtedly a very fatal thing. Their words may expose an operation. Kima is different. He encountered something more fatal. The other party is not only an old acquaintance, but also a traitorous old acquaintance. He knew before that Fuzzy F had defected from CP9 and joined the beasts, but according to past intelligence, the carters of the beasts rarely appeared on Grand Tesoro, and Fuzzy F had never come here once. Like Quinn, he had not been seen outside for a while. The last news was during the Battle of Beasts. Even if he came here, the average daily traffic on Grand Tesoro exceeded 30,000 people. Without accurate intelligence, he would not be exposed. As a result, his luck was so bad that he was discovered by the other party. He didn't know that the person who operated the monitor that day was called Bakura. Her fruit ability was the most hidden in Tesoro. The effect of the lucky fruit can play a miraculous role in many inconspicuous places. Don't say that, Senior. I just want to live. I'm not like you who would rather die than work for them. Since you said you would help me, well, then you should help me. You bastard. Is this what you understand as help? At the beginning, his team was short of people, so he wanted to recruit Fozef after his promotion. In Guimar's eyes, Fozef was also a good seedling. At the beginning, he really wanted to help him, but now, he wants to use his life to exchange for his future. Each of us serves his own master, or would you consider surrendering? I can introduce you to Mr. Kaido. Although many senior officials hate the identity of being a member of the world government, they can accept it if you really join. Shaina and Jin still hate the members of the world government. When he first joined, he was often looked down upon. Heh, Fozefo, do you overestimate your ability? You think too highly of yourself. Listening to Fozefo's words, Kima's eyes were full of disdain. People like them would never betray. After all, they dared to carry out such a mission as interfering with Kaido's battle, which was obviously a suicide mission. But he didn't understand why a small former CP9 was so confident. Don't say you. Even Robloxy is not my opponent. After stepping on the ground dozens of times, Kima used his razor to appear directly in front of Fozefo and stabbed Fozefo with his finger gun. The gap between CP9 and CP0 is strength. He couldn't beat Quinn, and he didn't even take Fozefo seriously. I hate it most when people compare me to that bastard. A strange thing about CP9, when it comes to Robloxy, the most talented newcomer in 800 years, when it comes to Fozef, he is as famous as Robloxy. No one likes to be used as a foil, especially when he thinks he is not inferior to the other party. In the battle between the former CP9 and the current CP0, Fozef also chose to use the 6 styles to fight. Idiot, your iron block can't stop me. Finger gun impact hammer. His finger bones seemed to disappear, and his fingers strangely retracted into his palm, and finally bounced out like a spring. The earthworm fruit brought him not only the ability to regenerate, but also strong muscles and changes in bones. His whole body can transform into a state of flesh spring, so as to launch a stronger attack. The iron block and the finger gun are the spear and shield in the 6 styles. People who overestimate the quality of their shields generally have no good end, but this time, it was not the shield that overestimated themselves, but the spear. The hair on Fozef's body completely blocked Kima's finger gun. Hahaha, if the highest realm of iron is to pursue steel, then what would be the effect of using iron to produce iron, if the body is already made of steel? Have you ever thought about it, senior? Chapter 768, the cat leader team is under construction. The 6 styles teach basic skills. The combination of finger gun, moonstep, shave, storm kick, paper painting and iron block can enable a person to deal with most situations in battle. But on this basis, people who are proficient in the 6 styles and use the 6 styles as their main fighting method have their own derivative skills and their own strengths. Fozef is best at finger gun, which is one of the reasons why Kima took a fancy to him. The two even have similar strengths. Fozef is also aware of some of Kima's abilities. In the past, he would never use this method to take Kima's attack, but the power given to him by Arceus gave him confidence. Among the many attributes of Pokemon, each attribute has a lot of room for development. Even the insect type, which is known as the weakest, has a bright future, but the steel type and rock type are undoubtedly the most obvious attributes to improve. The body of steel and rock can significantly improve a person's lower limit. When transformed into a steel type Pokemon, ordinary bullets and swords do not need any dodging. Just relying on the hardness of the body, they can withstand this wave of attacks without injury. The body of the cat leader is also very special. The Viking horn helmet on his head is not a real helmet, but a product obtained after the body hair is hardened. As one of the steel Pokemon, their body hair is also made of metal-like substances. Fozef's body hair looks fluffy, but it is an extremely special structure. Thousands of steel hairs are entangled together. It has strong defense and can absorb a certain amount of impact. It is a product that takes into account the hardness of steel and the flexibility of hair. At the same time, there is also an increase in iron blocks. The essence of iron blocks is to control the flow of blood, so that the body becomes extremely hard, but iron blocks are just an adjective. The upper and lower limits are uncertain. Every year, there are not a few agents who die because of overtrusting iron blocks. The original intention of this thing is to use iron blocks to strengthen defense and reduce damage when facing attacks that cannot be avoided. If you can avoid it, you should avoid it, or when necessary, you can exchange injuries for injuries and look for opportunities to counterattack. but as time goes by, its original intention seems to have changed. The impact of Kima's finger gun was almost completely absorbed. The remaining attack power was nothing to Fozefo. Moreover, this was not Fozeffo's strongest state. His ability was very special. His characteristic was called Steel Will, which could make steel type attacks more powerful. The effect of this characteristic could be superimposed, but due to the limitation of physical strength, the power it could exert was limited. When Fozefo joined the Beast's pirates, he brought his own subordinates. His original subordinates named Cats were the reserve cat bosses. Arceus intended to build them into a special cat boss team, specializing in team combat. Fozefo was a rare non-reckless person among the beasts. There were still many places where he could be used. However, the team was still waiting to be built, and his subordinates were far behind in both merit and strength. Claw gun steel. A grim smile appeared at the corner of Fozefo's mouth. The nails of his right hand and the fur at his wrist instantly wrapped around his fist, turning it into a large gun head. This is a skill that the cat leaders acquired while surviving in the wild. Some cat leaders would deliberately grow their nails long and use them as daggers. When Fozef had this ability, with the help of the power of life return, he had an extra set of weapons. Kima dodged after noticing the abnormality, but there was still a blood mark on his face. He seemed to have underestimated the strange weapon in Fozef's hand. However, with his own strong self-healing power, the blood mark healed quickly. In the past, he would reduce the chances of using his abilities to confuse the enemy, but if the opponent was Fozef, it would be meaningless. After all, Fozef knew his abilities very well. Saber-toothed tiger, that's not right. This is not the power that a saber-toothed tiger should have. Quinn, you don't need to understand that kind of thing. I will remember your contribution. You should feel honored that you are the first person to experience this new power. Tooth slashing spear wheel. The hair on Fozefo's body condensed into small spikes. The fangs and sharp steel claws retained in the form of a saber-toothed tiger formed a sharper blade. The body shrank slightly into a ball and crashed into the opponent at high speed. The crushing brought by the ability is his biggest advantage. The same animal system, the mythical beast species is more powerful than the ancient species and the ordinary species. The feeling he had before facing Sasuke was now given to this old predecessor. Tooth slashing spear combo. The sharp-toothed flying blades continued to attack Kima. Although Kima came in front of Fozefo with his understanding of some of Fozefo's moves, before he could make a move, Fozefo suddenly conflicted and let out a harsh roar. A sharp metallic sound entered his brain, just like someone hitting him in the head with a hammer. Kima's mind was blank for a short time. This was the disadvantage of his fruit. The earthworm fruit made him more sensitive to sound. This noise caused his nervous system to become stiff for a short time, and he was stabbed in the stomach by Fozefo. Relying on the strong vitality brought by the animal system, Kima did not fall down. After pulling away, he relied on his own ability to heal his wounds. The intensity of the collision between Kima and Fozefo gradually increased. As time passed, Kima also understood a painful fact that he was no longer the opponent of the younger generation. The cat leader and Fozefo had a high degree of fit. The claws replaced the usual dagger, and the steel fur made up for the shortcomings in defense, making it extremely difficult to get away. It was at this time that Kima's peripheral vision discovered Tesoro, who was watching the battle on the high platform. He needed a way to leave here safely, and Tesoro seemed to be this opportunity. He didn't dare to kill him. Tesoro's position was very special. Without orders from above, killing him would inevitably anger certain celestial dragon families, which would cut off the financial resources of those celestial dragons. But kidnapping and coercion would not be a problem. If there was any disadvantage to the transformed cat leader, it was that Fozef's flexibility had slightly decreased, and Fozef had not yet fully adapted to this heavier body. Guimar exchanged his right arm for the opportunity to escape from Fozef's entanglement. In midair, his arm had already regenerated. But Tesoro was not panicked at all. He just clapped his hands, and the golden stands under his feet turned into a big hand, directly pinching him in midair. Mr. Guimar, you seem to have forgotten something. Don't forget, I'm also a senior cadre of the beasts. Since I dare to appear in front of you, how could I be completely powerless? There will be 4 more updates tomorrow, just in time to adjust the biological clock back, so as to avoid updating so late in the future. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769. I know your abilities very well, but you know nothing about mine. CEO of the Fruit of the Beasts, world famous male star, the master of Gran Tesoro. This is how Gran Tesoro is viewed by outsiders. With wealth and status, he is already above most people, and even ordinary officials have to give him some face. With the Beast's pirates behind him, Gran Tesoro is a ruthless character who is good at both black and white. However, he rarely shows his strength, and in most cases, fighting has nothing to do with him. Even Kima has never seen Tesoro take action, and he is usually accompanied by Tanaka or Dace as his bodyguards. Seeing Tesoro standing alone on the high platform, Kima thought that Tesoro trusted Fozef too much. This little trick is useless. Although his body had been grabbed by the golden hand, Kima did not seem to be panicked. Even though he felt that the hardness of this gold was different from that of ordinary gold, he did not take it seriously. In his opinion, these were all part of the deformed buildings on Gran Tesoro. Not many people knew that Tesoro had eaten the gold fruit. Apart from the people of the beasts, Doflamingo only knew that the fruit was in Tesoro's hands. But considering Doflamingo's character, even if he knew the truth, he would not reveal Tesoro's news. Gold affected by the gold fruit will become very hard, not as easy to damage as ordinary gold, but Kima's body is also special, and he managed to get out of the gap of the golden giant hand. Shave. Snake. With the help of the developed muscle groups in his body, Kima launched several shaves in succession, and with the help of the moonstep footwork, he came to Tesoro's side. This is the first time I have seen such a fearless rich man like you, but don't worry, I just want to leave here safely. This request is not too much, right? The fingernails pointed at Tesoro's throat, and did not use any weapons. For these agents, their limbs have been trained into deadly weapons. Looking down from here, Fozef's face was extremely ugly, which was exactly what Guimar wanted to see, but he didn't know that the reason why Fozef's face was ugly was completely different from what he thought. He did show an ugly expression because Guimar approached Tesoro, but he was not worried about Tesoro's safety. He just felt that the evaluation of his actions would be lowered, but Guimar didn't know the real reason. Tesoro was even in the mood to joke with him. It's not too much, but I refuse. Since you dare to come here, you should be prepared to bear the consequences. If you leave smoothly, doesn't it mean that everyone here can be bullied? Do you think I dare not kill you? Do you dare? Listening to Guimar's threat, Tesoro showed a disdainful smile. They are all chess pieces, but the difference is that Tesoro is the general in this game of chess. Unless they want to overturn the table, neither side will allow him to have an accident. Whether it is the beasts behind him, or the Shyinlan people behind Guimar, it is the same. Guimar is different. He is just an ordinary pawn, a chess piece that can be abandoned at any time in exchange for greater benefits. Why do you think I don't dare? No one can stop me from this distance, let alone Fozef. He wanted to grab Tesoro's collar, but before he could move, he lost control of his body. No matter how hard his brain tried, his body couldn't move. Can you keep your dirty hands to yourself? This is a dress made by Stella herself. It will be very difficult for me if you dirty it. You. The stage has been set. Here, I'm the master. Gran Tesoro has only one entrance, and every time a new person enters, a large number of ribbons will be thrown from the sky as a welcome ceremony, and those ribbons are filled with gold powder. People living here will inevitably be stained with these powders. Through these golds affected by the power of the fruit, Tesoro can control the actions of most people. Kima in front of him does not have the strength to forcibly break the power of Tesoro. Your skills seem to be a lot less skilled, so I will doubt your ability. Tesoro looked at Fozef and said his evaluation very frankly. It was just a small mistake, but in many cases, such a small mistake is enough to cause fatal consequences. It was my mistake. I will pay more attention to it in the future. Fozef did not explain anything. The more he explained this glaring mistake, the more incompetent he would appear. Besides, there was nothing he could do. He did not expect Kima to use his ability to do such a thing. He knew Kima's ability, but only a part of it. Kima was not stupid enough to expose all his abilities to a junior who had just met him. Until this time, Kima understood one thing. The strongest here was not Fozef, but Tesoro. A person who can develop the ability of the fruit to awakening by himself is definitely not a weak person. Now Tesoro has not turned black, but has a goal that must be protected. In order to protect his beloved, he is constantly getting stronger. A dual ability user of the golden gold fruit plus Beedrill. In the home field of Grand Tesoro, he can even touch a disaster level character, not to mention such as CP0. Why are you recruiting bodyguards? When Tesoro appears in public, he is always accompanied by bodyguards, which is why Kima made a misjudgment. Now it seems that Tesoro is many times stronger than those bodyguards. If he really encounters danger, it is still unknown who will protect whom. You mean D's? Don't you think that big guy is very good at showing off? After all, I'm a public figure, so I still have to show off. Okay, Fozef, get rid of him. For Tesoro, the biggest role of bodyguards is to take care of Stella when he is too busy, and some fruits can bring great convenience. For example, Tanaka can save him the trouble of looking for doors everywhere. Kima, who was controlled by the gold fruit, was unable to resist and could only let Fozef's claws pierce his heart. This was not fatal to him. When the earthworm fruit was transformed, he had more than one heart in his body. Just when he wanted to use fake death to get away, he heard Fozef's words. Mr. Tesoro, do you have fire? What do you want fire for? This guy is a user of the animal type earthworm fruit. He has a very strong vitality. We may not be able to kill him like this. It is better to burn him to ashes just in case. After all, he knows a lot of things. F. You bastard. At this moment, what Kima regretted most was that he had displayed some of his abilities in order to recruit him. Chapter 770 Quinn's moment of decision. He never thought that one day in the future Fozef would surrender to the enemy, and the betrayal was so thorough, and he also used him very cleanly. He did not care about the past friendship at all, and used him as a stepping stone for promotion. If he were Fozef, he would do the same, but when he was the one who was unlucky, he could not accept it. Really? That's really troublesome. Although he said it was troublesome, Tesoro still clapped his hands. Behind Tesoro, a golden statue appeared behind him, and there were flowing lines on the body. Golden divine fire. Tesoro used his domineering energy as energy, and heated it through the special lines in the golden statue, generating high temperature and high density energy and rapidly expanding, and finally evolved into a laser attack, burning all the parts below Kima's head to ashes. He couldn't let Kima die without a complete body. What he had to do was to let Kima die here quietly, but the people behind him had to know what happened. Otherwise it would not have a deterrent effect. He should be dead now. Even if he is a natural type, he won't survive if he is beaten to a head. That night, Morgan's newspaper published a news report that a tourist fell into the water after getting drunk and was unfortunately eaten by a sea beast. When the rescue team found him, they only saw his face. Girantizulo apologized for this and said that he would strengthen the patrol of the boat in the future and remind other tourists not to drink too much to prevent tragedies. The news spread widely. The celestial dragons who instructed Gima to act also understood what Tizulo was doing. This act of establishing authority made them very unhappy, but in contrast, the other two celestial dragon families did not express their opinions. They even joined forces to suppress the subsequent actions of this family, and did not hide their behavior of protecting Tizulo. After all, Tizulo could bring them huge profits every year. They were not happy that outsiders wanted to interfere in the affairs over there, but they had no evidence and lacked reasons to interfere. Now it just gave them the opportunity to exert their strength. The celestial dragons are not monolithic, because interests and preferences often lead to various conflicts. As long as the interests of the entire celestial dragons are not harmed, the higher-ups will not intervene, but those have nothing to do with Tesoro. Although some minor mistakes occurred, Fozef's ability was further confirmed in the follow-up. During his time in Gilan Tesoro, he caught many people with problems. The undercover and counter-reconnaissance skills he learned were not learned in vain. At the same time, he also understood another truth, that you can't trust your own eldest lady too much when doing things, or to be more precise, you can't trust her completely. After she determines a new goal, she will indeed work hard to achieve this goal, but the process may be tortuous, and sometimes she will do some unnecessary things. For example, in Gilan Tesoro, no matter how you look at it, she is just playing. Not only that, he can't understand the thinking of the beast's carders. At this time, he is holding a small notebook in his hand, which records some of the experiences that Yamato discussed with the carders before leaving Onigashima. Torture them severely, and they will naturally confess when they can't bear it. This is the advice given by Jin. In his opinion, as long as the torture is severe enough, sooner or later someone will confess, but in this way, it is likely that those who confess are tortured. But what Fuzzy Fu can't understand is that Jin's method is actually a relatively gentle type. Kill the suspicious element directly. This is Quinn's advice. He spares no effort to maintain the safety of the pirate group. As for Shaina, the seemingly gentle person gave a result that was more irritable than Jin. In her opinion, this attempt to sneak in is disrespectful, especially for the believers of Arceus. There is a special review. It doesn't matter for real believers, but false believers are likely to be burned to slag. After reading those suggestions, Fuzzy Fu felt that it was a miracle that he could successfully get to this step. There are indeed a lot of perverts in this pirate group. Yamato's play journey, his test journey is basically over, and before leaving, he also saw one of Yamato's achievements. She taught a parrot how to speak, but only taught one sentence. Help, I've been turned into a parrot. Listening to the parrot's slightly panicked tone, he didn't know how to evaluate this behavior. Yamato only went with him for the test, and the rest was completely left to him. He had already returned to Onigashima first, and while Fozfu was working hard to investigate whether there were any abnormal people on the outer islands, Quinn was facing a very difficult choice. Is the news confirmed? Yes, brother Quinn, I don't know what happened to your banana plantation. Many banana trees have been infected. Burn the infected part and the surrounding banana trees. They have already done it, but it's useless. In a few days, the surrounding bananas will still be infected. The infected banana trees will completely wither in a few days. They have sent the samples. Please take a look. The subordinate handed Quinn a special small box, which contained samples of the infected banana trees. This is the big trouble Quinn is facing now. There is a problem with his banana plantation. Although his orchard was relocated after moving to Wano country, the terrain of Wano country is limited, and it is impossible for him to grow all the fruits. On the limited land, there are still a large number of tree fruits and precious medicinal materials that need to be cultivated, so Quinn's private plantation only occupies a small part. In order to meet the needs of external sales and internal supply, there are many plantations in the outside world, and this banana plantation is the one that Quinn values the most. After so many years, the planting technology there has long been mature, and he doesn't need to worry about it at ordinary times. Unexpectedly, an accident happened today. Quinn took the sample into his own laboratory and analyzed it, but he didn't find any problems. He even asked Nakin to help him analyze the situation, but still didn't get any results. There was no problem with the sample, and he could only see traces of some things that had existed. No, there is still no result. The cells in these plants were destroyed by something, but they did not leave any information. Putting down the instrument in his hand, Nakin gave his final conclusion. Could it be that the transportation process took too long, and they died naturally? It's not impossible, but if that's the case, I'm afraid we can only figure out what happened by going to that island. Something's wrong. Why do I feel like this is a conspiracy? Quinn had a bad feeling. No matter how he looked at this matter, it seemed like they were trying to lure him out. Chapter 771. How Kaido's self-blame came. That banana plantation had been planted for so many years without any problems, but it just happened to have a problem at this time. It would be fine if there was a problem, but it was not a small problem. If I didn't go to the scene, I might not be able to figure out what it was. With the complexity of this ingredient, ordinary people really couldn't figure it out. We have to have a sufficient understanding of tropical dragon bananas and viruses and bacteria to better solve this problem. This is already reading Quinn's ID card. Even if Nakin is good at botany, he is not as good as Quinn in other aspects. Quinn thinks this is probably a conspiracy, but he has no decisive evidence. After all, he has been blamed for a long time, and there are more than one plantation of 100 beasts. This is just one of the more important ones. No one can be sure that he will really go out for this thing. Quinn has no evidence to prove that this is a conspiracy against him. At this time, he still has some fluke mentality. Contact Zoro and ask him to find a few experts to take a look. After thinking about it, Quinn temporarily restrained his desire. 100 Beasts Fruit is the owner of those bananas in public, and there are also people who are good at agricultural products under it. After receiving Quinn's instructions, the younger brothers also conveyed Quinn's request to Zoro, and a group of professionals also came to the plantation with their own bags. As time passed, Quinn also received new news. The good news is that they found the root cause. There was a problem with the rainfall on the island recently. The rain contained a virus, which destroyed the banana trees and eventually caused their death. At the same time, this virus only parasitizes plants, and is extremely easy to die. Without a host, it will die quickly, and will not harm other plantations. The bad news is that they can't handle this kind of thing, and even after one attempt, the death process of the plant was accelerated. Brother Quinn, according to the report, it will be fine after all the plants on that island die. After a while, they can be replanted, although that island has the largest banana production. But if we reduce the ration, we can still hold on this year. Reduced ration? No, wouldn't my life be boring? Those rubbish, I still have to do it. As the business expands, their output is fixed. If it is reduced, it is impossible to reduce only one person. As a hedonist, he pays great attention to his extravagant life, and the fat on his belly is the best proof. But he still did not leave the ghost island, but began to use remote live broadcast to remotely control the people on the island, to make corresponding drugs, to deal with this crisis. But in the end he still failed. Waste. You bunch of waste. I have made it so clear. Haven't you studied the results yet? Quinn cursed at the screen in front of him. Except for not being able to get started with micromanipulation, he has taught everything he can, but this group of people just can't get satisfactory results. Seeing that the fruit bearing period is about to come, if he doesn't hurry up and solve it, this batch of bananas will really be scrapped. Miss Yamato hasn't come back yet, and Lord Arceus is out again, so only Brother Kaido is left. Whether it's survival or food, Quinn doesn't want to give up, so he wants to find a strong enough umbrella to go out with him. Obviously, he is also a strong man who ranks among the best in the sea, but now he has become extremely cautious. With a slightly uneasy heart, Quinn found Kaido on Sky Island, who was watching his mount fighting at this time. Unlike Pokemon that only have huge bodies after Dynamax, the 8-headed dragon, the Entei, and the Bankera are also giant beasts under normal conditions. Normally, Pokemon determine their age by the time they are born, and the latest 8-headed dragon is undoubtedly the younger brother. But following Kaido, its personality has become more and more warlike, and it also believes that it should not be the younger brother. As a creature created by Arceus, it also has extremely strong combat power, and he wants to be the eldest brother. So he is challenging the position of the two sisters with force. It didn't know what it could gain from this, but it just wanted it, as if it thought that this would make its master and creator happier. It was hard to say whether Arceus was happy or not, but at least Kaido was very happy now. Seeing that his mount was so suitable for his personality, his laughter had lasted for a long time. With the advantage of flying, the 8-headed dragon was indeed stronger than King Yanwu and Bankera in a one-on-one situation, but it was still young and challenged its two sisters at the same time. The two sisters were a little unhappy about their younger brother's expansion, so they joined forces to hit its arrogance. When Quinn came here, Kaido was comforting his mount. Ahaha, don't be discouraged, you are challenging two at the same time, and you are still young, Quinn. What are you doing here? Patting the head of the most important 8-headed dragon, Kaido looked at Quinn on the side. Brother Kaido, there are some production problems on the island outside. Could you please come with me to check the situation? Huh? Do I have to go for such a small matter? Can't I just find someone? No, Brother Kaido, this matter is quite complicated. Most people can't handle it. I have to do it myself. If it goes wrong, it will affect our business reputation. Lord Arceus has worked hard to establish this good reputation. Then you can go by yourself. Do you think you are a child? At this point, Kaido suddenly stopped. He was not deceived by Quin's sweet words, but caught another point. Quin, you are not scared to go out, are you? Quin's words may be enough to fool Yamato, but it is still far from enough to fool Kaido. Okay, no need to say more. Brother Kaido, listen to my explanation. No, as a big boss under me, you are actually afraid of this kind of thing. This is all my dereliction of duty. Wow. At the end, Kaido suddenly started crying again. At this time, Quin saw from the corner of his eye that there were many wine jars scattered on the island cloud beside him. It seemed that Kaido drank a lot while watching the battle. He wanted to leave secretly after noticing something unusual, but was grabbed by Kaido's shoulder. Brother Kaido, this is my fault. If you were stronger, you wouldn't have to worry about this. So, let me help you become stronger. Wait. No. Looking at Kaido, who picked up the mace, Quin wanted to leave here, but it was obviously impossible. Kaido completely blocked his retreat with just one swing of the mace. Chapter 772, How to Convince a Henpecked Man, Quin's Tragic Confession. Humans are so weird. Bankera grabbed a piece of island cloud and seemed to be thinking whether it could be eaten. After hesitating for a while, he stuffed it into his mouth. Eating soil is Bankera's habit. Island cloud is also a kind of soil in theory, but he has never studied whether it can be eaten. The island cloud melted instantly after being stuffed into his mouth, and a glimmer appeared in Bankera's eyes. It seemed that he had discovered a new world. However, it stopped after eating 2 bites. It didn't want to fall down like this. It would be very painful. Yeah, humans are so weird. The way they get along is really not appreciated by Pokemon. Zyarxioba must have learned bad things from them. I told you not to call me that. I'm a demon dragon. TSK. Do you like the nickname given to you by the enemy so much? It turns out that you should beat your brother as soon as possible. Bankera, King Yanwu, and the 8-headed evil dragon spoke words that humans could not understand, and at the same time complained about the strange behavior of Kaido and Quin, and did not agree with the taste of the 8-headed evil dragon. Although they are created by the same person, the 8-headed dragon is closely related to the Yamato no Orochi fruit, so it is inevitable that there will be differences. When Kaido was drunk, Quin suffered an extra ordeal, which also made him realize that Kaido's path was impossible. It is Kaido's most disgusting behavior that subordinates dare not do something because of cowardice. If it happens again, I'm afraid that Kaido will really beat them half to death. Damn it, Lord Arceus has just left not long ago. I don't know how long Miss Yamato will play. He is not so rigid. Since the top combat power cannot be found, it is not impossible to find a worse one. Shaina left with Arceus, and Alga was also drifting in the open sea. The only options left for him are Aurora and Jin. After thinking about it, he chose to find Jin first. Get lost. Hey, you torturer, I've invited you politely. Is this your attitude? I don't have time to deal with you, a guy who can't even overcome his appetite. Jin was very impatient and had already drawn the long knife across his waist. Quin didn't know that when he came here, Jin was using Lily Carnation, but was interrupted by him. Now he didn't kick directly, which was very restrained. At this point, Aurora has become the last choice. Back in the laboratory, Quin fiddled with some small things and then took the gift box to Aurora's residence. As for why he brought a gift, if it was just Aurora, he would go empty-handed, but his problem was that Aurora had a wife, and according to Quin's analysis, the seemingly generous Setsuna was essentially a petty person. He just disturbed her love more than 10 years ago, and now she would be dragged out and whipped from time to time. If I go out with nothing to do something risky with Aurora, I will be shot into a hedgehog. Is this guy's life too good? When I first came to Wano country, it was just an ordinary thatched house, just 2 ordinary bungalows. Later, Zerora and Setsuna built a new home here, and then when they got married, they turned it into a villa. Now, after several expansions, the villa has become a villa complex, and there are many new buildings around, warehouses, guest rooms, and small amusement parks. It can be said that it has everything. In comparison, my income is not less than that of the other party, but it looks very miserable. Uncle Quinn, what's the matter? Miawana came out from the flowers outside the door. Oh, I'm here to find your dad. He should be home. No, but why is your face so swollen? Did you eat too much? It was difficult for Quinn to answer this question. After all, Kaido had been aiming at his face and hitting him. He was not bandaged and could move normally because Kaido showed mercy. Where is your dad? He and mom went fishing at the beach. Point, these are toys for you and Wolf. Go play with them by yourselves. Just after handing the things to Miawana, he saw the couple returning with a bucket of fish. Quinn, what are you doing at my door? In the living room, Setsuna and Zerora listened to Quinn's explanation of his purpose. So you want to borrow Zerora? Hey, he's a living person, not your property. Is it really appropriate for you to talk like that? Don't worry about that. That's not the point. The point is, are you going to do something dangerous again? It's really not dangerous. To put it bluntly, if there is any danger, it's me who's in danger. It's okay for your Zerora to retreat. In order to convince Setsuna, he gave a very miserable reason, and the people around him thought it made sense. Then why did you insist on taking him with you? If we go together, even the admirals of the navy can handle it. Even if something unexpected happens, he'll be the fastest to ask for help. Are you satisfied with this reason? With a sigh, Quinn drank the water in the teapot in front of him. The admirals and the 4 emperors, their military strength is a leap for the people below. Even the least expressive green bull easily solved Jin and Quinn, although this has something to do with their own injuries. Unless it is an opponent of the same level, facing an admiral level opponent, the best you can do is delay. He and Zerora were enough to deal with the admiral of the navy. This was Quinn's slightly inflated confidence after the enhancement of their abilities and Kaido's devilish training. Forget it, it's up to you. Zerora can go, if she wants to. Logically, he didn't need to convince Setsuna, but Zerora and Mandafesh were both of the same character, and sometimes Tesoro had to be added. The current members of the 3 teams respected the other half's ideas very much. For such a risky action, he must have a sufficient reason. Don't worry, he will definitely come back safely. I'm very well prepared this time. As he said that, Quinn took out a devil fruit and shook it in front of the 2. Devil fruit? What's the use of you taking this thing? We all have our own abilities, and don't need this thing. Looking at the devil fruit in his hand, Setsuna showed a puzzled look. She and Zerora had their own powers, and Miawana and Wolf also had the power given by Arceus. There was no need to add weaknesses to themselves. I use this thing myself. You want to commit suicide? You can't be that desperate, right? It is an inherent understanding in the sea that eating 2 devil fruits will cause the body to explode and die, so Setsuna did not understand what Quinn said. How is it possible? This is a new move I secretly prepared. If anyone dares to mess with me, I will definitely let that bastard know how powerful I am. Chapter 773. Let me show you the wrong way. He tossed the devil fruit in his hand and showed his arsenal, showing his determination for this mission. Oh, by the way, this is for you. Although you don't like to use weapons normally, you should bring it this time. As the current scientific research leader of Onigashima, Quinn not only improved his own weapons and equipment, but also brought some small equipment to Zerora, an ordinary sea stone dagger. It is not easy to make this thing in the outside world. Due to the hardness and characteristics of sea stone itself, it is very difficult to shape it. Generally, the size of the ore is made into objects of similar size. But in Wano country, you can make any shape you want. Therefore, they have many weapons containing sea stone, but Zerora has no habit of using weapons in the past. Fists and feet are his most powerful weapons. I said. Are you really not lying to me? Is this time going out because there is a problem with your orchard? Looking at the things Quinn prepared, Setsuna always felt very strange, as if he believed that there was a conspiracy in this action. No, your authority is not lower than mine. Your Zerora's authority is also very high. You can check it yourself. I won't eat rice cake and red bean soup for a year if there is any false news. Setsuna believed Quinn's oath. Although this guy's not a good person, he attaches great importance to food. This is a person who dares to fight with Big Mom for ice cake and red bean soup, and directly hits the other party with a headbutt. It can be seen how obsessed he is in this regard. You go out and wait first. I'll pack some clothes for Zerora. Beepo, it's time to see you out. After finding a reason to send Quinn out, Setsuna took Zerora aside. What's wrong? That guy is not right. If there is something wrong, just let him attract fire and go ahead. Isn't this bad? What are you afraid of? Have you forgotten what the bounty on that guy says? Only alive. He will be in danger only if you force him into a corner. Besides, if the two of you can't handle it, you can only rely on Mr. Kaido and Lord Arceus. Colleague and husband, she is more concerned about Zerora's problem. Although Quinn is a companion, his position in Setsuna's heart cannot be compared with Zerora's. Don't worry, I know how to deal with it. Don't worry. In this way, Quinn successfully persuaded a companion and went to the banana plantation with Zerora. It was only when they set out that Zerora realized that he underestimated Quinn's caution. Is it necessary? I think it is necessary. Anyway, you can fly, and we are not flying all the time. We are just changing places to take a boat. Strictly speaking, the only exit of Wano country is the submarine port, which is the safest way to leave Wano country. Secondly, the brave can choose to walk along the waterfall. As long as the boat is strong enough, whether it is climbing the waterfall upstream or jumping off the waterfall directly by boat, it can be achieved. In addition, they have another way, flying. At this time, Quinn pulled Zerora to this platform and left Wano country at night. He was worried that he would be spotted by the Navy's surveillance ship if he drove out by boat, so he chose this silent way. He thought no one would care about the two small black shadows in the night sky. A few days later, Zerora and Quinn arrived at the plantation. Seeing that most of the banana trees on the island had turned yellow, Quinn felt tears in his eyes. Arsehole, what are you looking at? Take me to the laboratory. Because the banana plantation was severely damaged, Quinn was in a bad mood. Seeing the employees around him looking at him with confusion, he felt an aimless anger in his heart. Yes, but why are you here, Master Quinn? If I don't come, everything on this island will be gone. Stop talking nonsense. Lead the way. Yes, please come here. The angry Quinn was still very intimidating. His ordinary employees immediately took him to the place where agricultural problems were dealt with on the island. Before the researchers inside could figure out the situation, they were pushed aside by Quinn. Get out of the way. If you can't figure out such a simple thing, what's the use of you? Master Quinn, we tried hard, but, no buts. Learn carefully. Such simple steps, why can't you understand? As he said that, Quinn turned on the equipment and began to teach on the spot. As expected of Master Quinn, is this how to do this step? So that's how it is. This way it can save more than twice the time. In order to save his banana, as soon as possible Quinn's arm had already waved out after images, and various instruments flew in his hands, and he soon got what he wanted. As a former member of MADS, he still had a lot of research talent. The people of MADS would rather curse at each other every day than waste their time with trash. In this regard, his ability is indeed world class. The people around him are not just flattering him. Quinn has indeed done some things that they can't do. But as the last drop of liquid flowed into the beaker, grey smoke suddenly appeared on the experimental table, followed by an explosion. Zerora, who was watching on the side, was speechless. Even if he didn't understand science, he knew what happened when he looked at the messy experimental table. Quinn seemed to have failed. When the smoke cleared, Quinn's face was covered with chemical residues, but he was as if petrified and didn't move at all. The people watching around were also scared and dared not breathe. Who knows if Quinn will be angry out of shame. Ahem, you all saw it? This is the reason why you failed. I showed you how you failed. You must learn from it. After brainstorming, Quinn quickly made up a new reason to cover up his failure. Next, I will show you what the correct approach is. After cleaning the lab bench, Quinn repeated the previous action. To prevent accidents, he had already activated the modified part of himself, so there would be no problem with accuracy. But a few minutes later, the explosion occurred again. Quinn's eyes were full of doubt. After several explosions, he was sure of one thing. It was not that there was something wrong with him, but that something was wrong. Otherwise, this kind of experiment would not have failed again and again. After driving everyone out, Quinn picked new samples from the banana field outside and returned to the initial stage. It was not that what he wanted to study was mysterious, but that he was worried about being embarrassed if something unexpected happened. How many times have you done it, and there is still no result? Even Zerora became a little impatient when looking at the tedious experiment and began to urge Quinn to speed up. Chapter 774. If you dare to destroy my banana plantation, I will not let you go, even if you are a Navy admiral. There are results, but trouble is coming. This is not a natural disaster, but a man-made disaster. Looking at the analysis results in his hand, Quinn's face was gloomy. He finally figured out the reason and why he had failed before. This time he found that the ingredients that caused the bananas to become sick were not what he had understood before, but a man-made product, and the manufacturer of this product was even an old acquaintance of his. That bastard Caesar. When I see him again, I will make him plow the ground with his face. Caesar? Caesar Courant, just a waste. I used to be in a research group with him. This thing is the product of his failed experiment, or rather, an improved version. I didn't realize what it was at first, but now I can be sure. For example, a new type of virus? No, that guy's experimental direction is a little different from mine. He has always liked artificial fruits, but has never succeeded. When he cultivated fruits, he followed the cultivation characteristics of some plants, and as a result, he created this special pesticide. You won't understand if I say more. Fortunately, it's not very troublesome, and I should be able to handle it. Quinn did not explain more professional knowledge, but used a brief way to let Zerora understand what it was. It's just that this thing can't appear here out of thin air. He is now a running dog of the world government. This is really a conspiracy against me. There was a conspiracy, and this matter had always been within Quinn's expectations. But when he was sure that this was the real conspiracy, his heart was still very complicated. So, what is your decision now? This. Logically, he should leave here immediately after discovering the problem. He can prepare the antidote after leaving here, but that will waste a lot of time, and these bananas may not last. Do you mind waiting for a few more days? You guy will die from this mouth sooner or later. Seeing Quinn's frightened and reluctant look, Zerora wanted to kick him. He suddenly understood what Shaina said at the beginning. I don't know why I want to kick him. I can't help the impulse when I see that face. But at this time, someone helped them make a decision in advance. The alarm sounded in the laboratory, and someone helped Quinn make a decision. Taking advantage of speed, Zerora saw the situation outside first. Quinn, good news. You don't have to worry about how to deal with this matter anymore. There were explosions in his ears, and Quinn suddenly had a bad premonition. You mean, almost all of them are burned? You probably don't have time to save those bananas. This is a big problem. The sound coming from his ears was different from the sound of ordinary gunpowder explosions. When Quinn came to the window, he saw the banana garden gradually turning into a sea of fire, and the magma bombs that continued to fall with ordinary artillery fire. Not far away, the shadow of a warship can be seen gradually getting bigger. It's that mad dog. Looking at the Navy wearing a red suit and a coat of justice on the bow of the warship, Quinn instantly recognized his identity. He was the only one in the Navy who could use magma as a weapon, the Admiral of the Navy Headquarters Sakaski, codenamed Akainu. Because of the grudge between Alga and him in the past, the nickname Mad Dog has always been used to describe him within the beasts. It took Alga a lot of effort to get rid of him. Lord Zerora. Lord Quinn. The Navy is attacking us, and the leader is. Alright, no need to say, I've seen it all. You guys retreat. Don't stay and make trouble. This is a plantation island of the beasts, and there are not many people on the island. In addition to a small number of pirates, there are some workers, and 2 ships can accommodate them all. The island is not responsible for fighting, and most of them are retired pirates who can't play any role in this kind of battle. Yes, I understand. Then the two lords. I will help you cover for a while and report the news here to Onigashima. Zerora arranged these things briefly and then looked at Quinn on the side. I'm going to delay that guy. What about you? If he wants to leave, he can leave now. Sakazuki can't stop Zerora. In terms of flexibility, he can't limit the other party. If he does that, the rest of the pirates on the island will suffer. The Navy's highest combat power is not something they can deal with, but he still has some sense of responsibility, although he promised Setsuna that everything is based on his own safety. In this case, the safest way would definitely be to leave directly, but he couldn't do it. There is always a reasonable error between what a man promises at home and what he fulfills outside. He thought Quinn would want to retreat together, but this time Zerora really underestimated Quinn. Delay. I'm going to kill that guy. I don't care what kind of dog he is. If he dares to burn my banana plantation, even if it's brother Kaido, I will fight him to the death. Quinn's eyes were already bloodshot, and the adrenaline in his body was being secreted at an accelerated rate. He couldn't forgive anyone who touched his food, no matter who the enemy was. At this time, he was overwhelmed by anger and lost some of his rationality. He made the bravest decision in more than 10 years. His skin began to wriggle, and his muscles continued to expand and change. When he walked out of the room, he had become a huge tropical dragon man and flew towards the direction of the Navy warship. He didn't care about the death and injury of these ordinary pirates. He just wanted to avenge those bananas that had not yet been born. General Sakazuki, the target has appeared. He didn't run away and is approaching us. The ingredients that Caesar made to destroy plants and the Akainu that appeared here were naturally actions arranged by the world government and an attempt by them. It was not possible to send people into Onigashima, but it was easy to get an intelligence officer into the outer islands. Through the analysis of Quinn's preferences, a CP team planned this operation. They integrated the potion made by Caesar into the rain cloud, causing the plants here to become sick, and asked Sakazuki to temporarily perform tasks nearby. According to the current situation analysis, it is the safest way to capture him alive in a short time and eliminate him under special circumstances. In theory, Borsalino is more suitable for this operation, but he is responsible for the safety of Vegapunk, so the Navy did not transfer him from his post. The plan remains unchanged. The bombardment continues, and all the pirates on the island will be eliminated. His arms were still spewing magma into the sky. The action must be carried out thoroughly. Since it has already started, there is no need to be soft-hearted. Whether it is Quinn or an ordinary pirate, it is his decision to eliminate all the enemies. Chapter 775. Don't be scared. Sakazuki will never show mercy to pirates. When he was sent to perform this mission, his goal was to eliminate all these unrest factors. If it weren't for the fact that there was no order from the world government, the Navy was not allowed to attack the Sea Emperor at will and engage in large-scale conflicts with it, Sakazuki would have done so long ago. Adjust the muzzle and attack the ships first. Sakazuki's meteor volcano has great power and range, but its disadvantage is that its accuracy is not very good. The hit rate of the magma fist, after it is launched, will be seriously affected by external factors. It is only suitable for large-scale firepower coverage, and the lack of hit rate is compensated by quantity. If you want to hit some ships accurately, you still have to rely on naval guns. The naval guns on the ship are not for show. Under the coverage of double firepower, this plantation island soon turned into a sea of fire. General Sakazuki. New situation. New Carters found. Zerora is also on the island. He is protecting the evacuated ships. The undercover on the island only sent a signal that Quinn had arrived and did not describe the enemy's composition in detail. Full speed ahead. Speed up the landing. Due to the limitation of the fruit ability, Sakazuki's performance in the sea is not as good as Kuzan and Borsalino. Kuzan can freeze the sea at will, and Borsalino can fly freely. Both of them are not restricted by the venue. But for Sakazuki, he can best exert his strength on the land. At this time, around the island, the lightning in Zerora's hand was almost condensed into a solid body. When he waved it, all the approaching shells were detonated in advance by him. Lord Zerora. The news has been sent back to Onigashima. Take care of yourself. On the ship, the evacuated pirates reported their situation in a loud voice. Otherwise, under the cover of the explosion, these voices could not be heard by others. Arseholes. Are you just watching? Push the cannon out and fight back. The cadres on the ship issued a new order. They could not intervene in the battle of the admiral level, but they were not afraid of the bombardment of a warship. Their ship guns are no less powerful than the Navy's. If the Navy can hit them, they can also hit the Navy. This is the new world, and they are also pirates. It is impossible for a pirate ship to be without heavy firepower, even if the ship is mainly engaged in transportation. The flag of the beast can only avoid most troubles, and sometimes it still depends on the cannon. Under the organization of the cadres, the retreating pirates also began to use artillery fire to fight back. It was at this time that Quinn had come to the top of the warship. You Magna Mad Dog, do you know how much effort I have spent on this banana plantation? The transformed body has expanded into an arsenal, and it began to pour its firepower towards Sakaski's position, but this was just venting its anger. Whether it was lasers or gunpowder weapons, they had no effect on the body of the natural system. Magma-like holes bloomed on Sakaski's body. Whether it was Quinn's bombardment or the debris blown up by the ship, they were just melted by the hot magma. But this attack is a disaster for ordinary Navy soldiers. Quinn doesn't care about this kind of thing. It's not even enough to vent his inner anger. But in an instant, Sakaski below disappeared. When Quinn looked up again, the other party had come to him. What's the pity of the hard work of the pirates? The fist was billowing with black smoke, and the magma-like fist hit Quinn's face directly. Today's 3 admirals are all natural ability users. Although the natural system brings them terrifying destructive power, their own physical skills should not be underestimated. Even though Zephyr always says that Kizaru pays too much attention to the ability of the fruit, his own swordsmanship and kicking skills are better than most people. Zephyr's comparison object is originally a small group of people who stand at the peak of physical skills. Compared with the older generation of Navy specializing in physical skills, Borsalino lacks, but with the ability of the flash fruit, it is enough for him to become a top powerhouse. And Sakaski is even stronger than Borsalino in this regard. The order given to him by the world government was to try to capture him alive, or to kill him, but he had automatically ignored the former option. There was no reason for the criminal who caused the Navy to suffer huge losses to live. He would not allow Quinn to massacre the soldiers on the ship like this. Although Sakaski would sacrifice some soldiers to achieve his goal, he did not mind sacrificing a few people for absolute justice, but death must be exchanged for benefits. He is also a Navy admiral and the cornerstone of the Navy at the forefront. He will definitely stand up in this situation. Moonsteps has long been a foundation for people like them. Although Quinn stretched out his arms to block, the huge magma fist still knocked him out. In this process, the wings behind Quinn released 2 flying leaf knives in the flapping, and even had domineering aura attached to them, but the scars he left were still slowly healing. Heroic? This kind of domineering is not enough. As long as the opponent's attack position is predicted by the observation color, the natural ability user can avoid this damage. Facing Sakaski's ridicule, Quinn did not continue to attack. Looking at the slightly melted part of the mechanical arm, and feeling the burning sensation on his face, his sanity, which he had lost in his rage, gradually recovered. This was the Admiral of the Navy. It seemed a little early for him to challenge this opponent now, but he wanted to leave, but Sakaski disagreed. Hellhound. The magma-like arm quickly stretched out, and stabbed at Quinn like a venomous snake. His huge body seemed to become a target in front of Sakaski. This move was very fast, and Quinn was unable to dodge it, but Kaido's years of training played its role. With his deep-armed color, the Hellhound could not make a hole in him. The scorching magma continued to burn his skin. When his defense was about to be broken, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky, interrupting Sakaski's attack. Hey, you're finally here. I'm fast enough. How do you feel? When Quinn attacked Sakaski, most of the artillery on the warship was destroyed, and Sakaski turned to attack him. Naturally, there was no need for Zerora to cover the retreat of those people, and he soon came to the battlefield here. It's okay. It's not as painful as Brother Kaido. Let's find a way to deal with this big trouble first, otherwise it won't be so easy for us to leave. He took great pains to get Zerora out, just to prevent trouble before it happens, and he has no psychological burden about joining forces. Let me correct you, it's not us. If I want to leave, I can leave now. He can't stop me, and didn't you just want to kill him? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.